of civilization. Union still seeks to unite the human diaspora. But now, an edict, long since forgotten, can be heard again, screamed from beyond the stars. Will humanity hear? Will we understand? For now, only one thing is certain. Our Lancers will respond when the Starcriers fly.
Hello and welcome to RPGs Uncovered for the premiere episode of the Starcrier Conflict. Thank you everyone for jumping in. I see we already got some people here. We got some people in the chat. That's real nice to see. I am so excited to get started with this show. It's been a long time in the works, and we got some fantastic people here. I'm gonna keep this intro real short so we can get straight into the game. That's gonna be how I try to run this going forward. But please do stick around for the intermission and for the outros because we got a full outro credit set up on top of our wonderful intro credits and trailer we just played. Hope you guys like that. All right, anyone who is new to the channel, welcome to RPGs Uncovered. I usually do a whole bunch of learning the game sort of stuff with tutorials and demo play miniseries. This is not that. This is going to be a full-length, season-long, possibly series-long campaign series using the Lancer system and an original story that I've been working on for a long time. Best way to support without money is, as everybody says, just press all of those buttons, like, follow, subscribe, wherever you may be, whatever flavor those buttons may be, give those a press. Chatting in Discord, or well, you can join the Discord, of course, but chatting in chat, either on Twitch or on YouTube, leaving a comment, all helps. Any sort of engagement lets our AI overlords know that you like this content, and they tell me you like this content, so I keep making more content. But, of course, if you would like to show your support monetarily, which is unfortunately super helpful in setting up production value, you can do so in two ways. If you're on Twitch, you can go over to the About tab and scroll down just a bit and head over to the Mayhem meter. That is how I support this wonderful cast of people. They bring an amazing amount of enthusiasm and talent to this, and dedication to this. Anything we get through the Mayhem meter not only throws some extra mayhem into the story, it's not gonna add anything you wouldn't already see, but it might kick it up a notch, and it might bring things a little bit earlier. So a little extra mayhem, and anything we get through that is split equally between the cast, depending on, how many streams they're on, and working on a whole formula and whatnot. But that's the best way to support the cast directly. If you want to support the show itself and help me towards character art and musicians and editors and all kinds of production value stuff, you can head over to our Ko-Fi, which is, of course, at RPGs Uncovered. But enough of the shilling. I'm going to leave anything more to the outro because we got to get started here. So let me throw it over to our players to introduce themselves. Yeah, let's stick with that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Can't hear the players. I see that. Why, no, thank you for interrupting. I see that as well. Why is that the case? Why is that the case? First episode Tech Gremlins. Hold on, folks. I appreciate I appreciate you pointing that out, and I appreciate your patience while we get this set up. Yeah, okay. Cool. I need an application. It's an application. I'm gonna go with that one now. And just set this up real quick. All right, let's give you guys a talk.
Talk?
Yes. Hello.
All right, it's showing up on my board. Audience, please let me know. I know there's going to be a delay. Please let me know if you still can't hear them. But let's start
Can
over.
you hear me?
Actually, thank you for letting me know.
Should be good.
Rewind time a bit. Sean, say hello again.
Hi, I'm Sean. I'm playing August Walker, call sign Solitaire. Can you guys hear me? Everybody hear me? Great. Okay, wonderful.
Hey, howdy, hi. I am Haley. I'm playing Siobhan, also known as Shiv, call sign Bite.
Hi, I'm Q. I'm playing Logan Uhura, call sign Desperado.
Andrew, I'm playing Athen Mishan, call sign Blacksmith.
Hi, I'm Lion, and I am playing John Tavier Creighton Vasir Harrison IV, call sign Starblood.
Who will henceforth just be known as Tavik or Starblood.
Until we chuck him out an airlock.
Right.
If he mysteriously disappears,
That is
we have
Harrison
nothing to do with
Erasure,
it.
and I will not stand for
Oh, it'll be erasure, all right.
it.
All right. I love the energy. Let's bring us into our first episode. Before the camera even picks up, just black screen, all we hear is the steady, if rushed, footfalls of many boots echoing down a hallway. And we fade in, camera just at ankle level, and we see a number of individuals, a number of boots marching forward swiftly, but not necessarily in a run. We see, barely, because we're at ankle level, the flashing of not necessarily red alarms, but perhaps a yellow warning light, tension light, muster light. And we notice that these boot falls and the pants we can see above them are not uniform, as one might expect from the sterile, well-lit halls of a Union Navy facility, but mismatched, customized, worn. This muffled conversation that we can't quite make out, and a tinny blaring of a speaker, and we also can't make out. As the camera zooms forward down the hallway, still at ankle level, before it picks up and enters through a large bulkhead door, and we see a hangar lined up on both sides in their own stations, a number of mechanical arms and moving platforms up and down, side to side. We see placed in them a number of different mechs, some standing only 10 feet tall or so, others closer to 3, maybe even 4 stories. All different, none of them quite the same. These are not your cookie cutter, standard issue, mechanized cavalry mechs. These are Lancer frames. The exterior bulkhead opens up and the camera flies out into space and zooms off across the stars. And there's a blur. Goes dark for a moment. And then, sometime earlier, We zoom back through the stars, and we see Bar Station 12. It is a Union facility, a deep space Union facility, that houses both a civilian ring and a Union Navy ring. It's this space station that has a long cylindrical core and these two wide rings. And we see the space station, from our perspective, slowly rotating around, creating that centrifugal gravity that everyone relies on. We see a few different spacecraft flying around, some military patrol vessels, some simple transports. Every now and then, in this span of 30 seconds, we may be looking at it and zooming in on the station. Maybe one ship blinks off into blink space, or I should say zooms off into near space, not quite FTL, towards the nearby blink gate. By nearby, I mean somewhere around 3 or so light years. This is Bar Station 12. We'll zoom in as if atop a spaceship coming in to dock. But we don't dock, we zoom into the top ring. The Union military, the Union Navy ring. We zoom in through a number of buildings and archways, overpasses, underpasses. Just switch our picture here because we got cool pictures. If I can find them. I'm going to get better at this as the episodes go on. There we go. We zoom through the various districts of the Union Navy ring until we come to a... Well, let me actually ask, who would like to volunteer to introduce their character first? I'm gonna have to roll for it.
I guess I'll do it. It's always me. I'm always first.
All right. That's interesting. Solitaire. Our camera will weave through the military district here, the Navy district here, until it reaches the central Union Navy Training Academy building. We see in very, very Spartan, very blocky, very simple letters exactly that. Union Navy Training Academy. It has a nice lawn of sloping hills and various platforms, very Star Trek Academy, if a bit more Spartan, if a bit more angular, if a bit more Battlestar Galactica. And we hover on that for a second before the camera quickly swivels, zooms out away from the Navy ring and down into the civilian ring. And we actually come to a park. And in that park, we fly by a wellness center. This is the Ringing Gardens, or specifically the Poppy Seed Wellness and Relaxation Center. Moving through that, behind that building, we come to a series of sand pools. And a few different stones set up. And at the center of these, we find Solitaire. Solitarily. Solitaire, I believe this is one of your favorite places to center yourself. What does that look like for you? And actually, before we get to that specifically, what does Solitaire himself look like?
So, Solitaire, or August, is a man in his early 20s. His skin is it's kind of a mix. It's hard to really tell. It's kind of a middling dark, light mixture of colors. It's one of those things you can't quite put a finger on if you try to trace it back lineage-wise. His hair is a dark black with a reddish tinge. at the edges and at the roots. It's fairly short and fairly neat. His features are a bit craggy, I suppose you could say. They're distinct cheekbones and such, but probably one of the things that stands out the most is the scarring on the left side of his face. It looks like burn scarring from just over his eye and down the cheek a little bit. That eye itself is somewhat discolored in comparison to the clear blue eye on the other side. He's a man who's not overly large, but looks like he's in decent shape. Athletic without being bulky. Though at the moment, he's not really doing a whole lot that could be called athletic, as he's kind of sitting in the middle of the gardens, in the middle of these well-manicured sand pools and everything, and he's kind of down in that traditional kind of lotus position, sitting on the ground with his hands resting on his knees, his head tilted back a little bit, his eyes closed, just kind of listening to the sound of all these bells and chimes that fill this place. Just this soft, ever-present ringing that just kind of pervades the area and helps him kind of focus and drown out some of the thoughts and everything that are constantly going through his head. Kind of just forget all of that static and traffic that's constantly in his brain.
So, I would like you to actually give us the first roll of the game.
Well, how dare.
I would like you to roll to stay cool. This is one of your specific skill
Okay.
triggers. So that
It is indeed.
a 1d20. You'll add +2 for that skill trigger, and you just need to beat a 10.
That's a 16.
All right. You stay cool. You've been at this for a while. You've been at the academy for a while. This is about your 5th year. Of course, time gets a little wobbly when you're using relativistic near-light travel. And you know you have been on a number of missions, and your mind flashes back to a few of them. Back to a number of different training facilities here on the station, a number of different orbital platforms that have been set up. All the way back to that first mission you had as a new Lancer cadet. That was going well until it didn't very quickly. But you're familiar with the Ringing Gardens. You center yourself, bring yourself back down. You've learned a lot since that time. And it's those experiences, those failures, those scares that has led you to now. Contextualizing that with your experience with this meditation, this centering, you keep your cool. Do you have anything that your character might balance all of those, not necessarily traumatic, but tense moments with? Or is this simply a clearing of your mind?
So there would be times when he tried to remember back to some of the things that happened before his original home was lost. Try to remember back, because he was not terribly old. He was only 8 when the colony on Gamma 137 collapsed. And, he basically lost his family at that point. But in the times before that, even though perhaps it was a little rough living on a colony world and not really having a lot of support and everything coming from Union or anybody else, because they were isolated by themselves, which is the way they wanted it. But it was happy times. He was there with his mothers and everybody else in the colony, and he has, even though some of those memories can be hard to pull up after so long, he can still kind of reach back and remember bits and pieces, of an afternoon spent with his mother's away from work, just playing games around the house, or just very simple things like that while they weren't huge or expensive or any of these things, they were simple, happy things just because the three of them were there together.
All right. You focus on that, and you get this sort of step ladder, this popcorn back and forth between what led you to this point, what led you to make your decisions to bring you here for this Lancer training, and everything that's happened during this Lancer training. And you've been here for a while, not in excess, but this takes time to center yourself, and you have time. The last of your classes, the last of your training exercises and exams have come to pass. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are a fully Union-sanctioned auxiliary Lancer, because that requires a sort of trial by fire. That'll come eventually, but for now, you're on standby. So you take this time to relax and center yourself and prepare for whatever that first mission may be. I want you now to roll to gauge your awareness of your surroundings. So this is also a skill trigger for you. I'll let you use Investigate for this. Or actually, I think Spot would be better. Even though you're really probably more listening than necessarily looking. But between either of those two, that's a D10 plus 2.
Okay. That's a 14.
Okay. You don't pick up on it immediately, because of course there's other things going on in this garden. There's other people coming and going. They know to be respectful, of course, and to stay quiet, but every now and then you hear the slight crunch of footfalls on grass, or, of course, there are birds and other small creatures living in the central park of this station. But you do notice, eventually off beyond the rim of the sand pool, where there's trees set up and other foliage, you get the feeling that somebody's standing there. As if you're being watched, but not necessarily ominously. You hear the crunch of footfalls, very slight scraping of fabric or such on the bark of a tree. And then even if you really center yourself, maybe a sigh or a clearing of the throat, very gently.
Kind of open his eyes and kind of slowly turn to look.
You see a familiar face, Cheyenne Tonkin, an elderly Spari woman. The Spari people are one of a number of different various peoples out in the rim of the diaspora, as it were. A planet that is well renowned for being cold and ruthless and producing some very fine, very hardy, very skilled, not just warriors, but craftsmen, survivalists, anybody who comes from, I believe it is just Spar, tend to have stories and tend to be very interesting people, very sturdy people. Cheyenne Tonkin is, well, her description almost mirrors yours if you added somewhere between 60 and 120 years. Of course, this being well in the future, the human lifespan has been nearly doubled. But she's up there, past the point where she, she could probably hold her own, probably spar, if if she needed to. But she's beyond that point in her life. She's beyond her mercenary work. She's beyond necessarily her training of new mercenaries. And she is now the caretaker of these gardens. A good-natured, quite happy woman. A number of tattoos that tell her various tales. She does tend to wear the sort of vest-like clothing, showing off actually very well-toned arms, well-toned body in general for a woman of her age. Number of tattoos, faded, some of them stretched or dulled in various ways, mark all of her exposed skin. You know some of the tales, but not nearly all of them. And you know, some of them it's best not to ask about. But she stands there leaning against one of the trees. Solitaire, I hear you are on standby now, ready to be shipped out.
Yes, ma'am, Miss Cheyenne. Finished all up the testing and everything, and, well, now we're just waiting to see what they want to do with us.
Leave it to the Union administration and the Navy to make mercenary work so rigid and defined.
Well, there ain't been a damn thing in this universe that couldn't be made less efficient than handing it over to a government, so...
There is something to be said for efficiency. Yes. One day, though, hopefully soon, you'll have the taste of some real thrill. Out on a real mission.
Man, be able to take that next step, you know? And one of these days I want to figure out what I can do to help the folks growing up out there and, you know, out there in the black away from all this. And it's just one step in that direction.
And with Union's guidance, I'm sure you will be able to do just that, if a bit bigger picture than the rest of us rim-bound lancers. The
Suppose that's the
Auxiliary
goal.
Corps. It's an amusing term. How the Union enjoys keeping you defined in titles and regulations while still keeping you deniable.
Yeah, I suppose so. I don't know. I leave all that kind of thing to other folks, I suppose. I got my mech, I got my tools. I suppose that's what I need.
Well, I hope you are ready then. And I hope you come back with some interesting stories. Perhaps we can get you some work done. As she motions
the first
to
to know.
one of her sleeves.
I'm looking forward to it.
With that, she does a slight bow, turns and leaves you to whatever other centering you may have, as the camera pulls back once more, and its direction will be determined by which of you would like to introduce yourselves next.
Come on,
I'll go.
cowards.
All right.
I'll do it.
Blacksmith. Let me ask you this, Athen. since you've completed your training, as the rest of our Lancers have, do you stay in the Academy dorms still, or have you picked up a place on the civilian ring?
I think I would pick up a place on the civilian ring, just that way I could have something to call my own.
Alright. Then our camera will shift and turn, and again flow through a number of these buildings, these overpasses, past a monorail line, until we reach what looks like a residential area, very arcology-like, a number of tiered, very geometric buildings stacked on top of each other, covered in hanging gardens and vertical gardens, rooftop gardens. There's something to be said, as Solitaire mentioned, the efficiency of Union, even down to its architecture. But we will zoom through one of them, past a small exterior garden and through a window, and we see, at first, the back of Intermission, as you are sitting in front of a OmniNet terminal. And I think very much like our own Discord call, we will pull up that screen and we will be able to see the two of you as the camera zooms in to this call. You have just received a call from Storm, your old mercenary captain. Let's go ahead and describe yourself first, Athen Blacksmith Mishan.
So, I am average height, probably no more than 5'10", 5'11". Solid build, though. Definitely have spent a lot of time training. Relatively honed muscles, just like a little bit of a gut, just because, sometimes food can still be really good. At this point now, kind of a little bit of a thicker beard on the face, dark hair, keeps it relatively short on the sides, but kind of a little flopped over in the front. And especially since we have a back view, you can see that despite the fact that I'm just wearing casual clothes for the time being, nothing more than probably a t-shirt and still my official Navy pants, you can see the tips of two sword tattoos that are kind of emerging over the shoulders. Just kind of been waiting on Storm to call. I had a feeling he was probably going to do it sooner rather than later.
All right. Go ahead and give me a quick description of Storm then.
So, at this point, Storm is going to be probably a middle-aged individual, bald, has scarring kind of all over his face. This is a person that has definitely been in a variety of fights. In fact, his right eye is just entirely milky as it is. Despite the fact that he looks like a total hard ass, he also is very quick to smile, and I'd assume that as soon as the call comes through that he's probably beaming.
Yes.
For the time being.
Yes, the call flashes on, the OmniNet being one of the very few pieces of paracausal technology that most average citizens would be able to use. Of course, I'm not sure the average citizen really understands the paracausal nature of an OmniNet call, but you are, of course, speaking to somebody not only unknown light years away, but somebody who is likely traveling at this very moment, or at least has been at near light speeds. And yet, you're communicating instantaneously, as we are now. The call flashes on and we see he is older than you remember. It takes a while. Every time you see Storm, or anybody from your past, however frequently you may contact anybody else, there's always that small hitch in your breath as you realize, yeah, you lost some time compared to everybody else on your travel to Far Station 12, on some of your missions there and back. But the galaxy keeps spinning on, even if you are trapped in the time dilation effect of moving at near light speed. A little older, a little bit of gray fuzz along the side, but still that beaming, happy mentor figure that you remember. Athen, me boy, I've heard some good news through the grapevine.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. Though, you know, Storm, I gotta say, you're getting old, man.
Well, the rim does keep spinning on, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the truth. You know, gotta say, who'd have thought that some punk kid from Moonglow would be auxiliary reserve for Union Navy, huh?
He raises his hand. I think I called it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of part of the reason why you convinced me to get out of the unit and get my ass over here, but, you know.
Hey, anytime you want to come back, I'll be the first to say. The circle has... it's a little less without you.
That's very kind of you to say. But, you know, I gotta say, like, I got stuff to do here. I mean, like, I just finished the exams, and for the time being, they just kind of have us twiddling our thumbs, but... you know, I can't deny the toys are great.
From what I hear, you are indeed working with, some fancy technology.
Yeah, well, I managed to get the Blade 2 modified to exact specifications, and look, I loved Blade when I was still running with you, but this one's way better in every regard.
That one was made out of scrap metal we took from half a dozen different locations.
Yeah, and we're not going to talk about what happened to it, right?
Well, I would say it went back to being scrap metal, and perhaps somebody else will refine their next cobbled up makeshift mech out of the bones of your foundation.
So, you know, I gotta say that the squad they got me with, they're pretty great. Minus Starblood, but, you know, that's beside the point.
Every group has one of them.
Yeah, I know. Just as long as he can keep his mouth shut every once in a while, I think that things probably go a little bit better. But I just, at this point, just really itching to get back out there. I mean, I've been running the sims, I've been doing everything I can. I've been training, I've been sparring. Like, just at this point, I just need them to have something for us to do.
Well, I can relate to that enthusiasm, and I know you've experienced it before, obviously, with us in the circle. But with this new, what do I call it, the Lancer Auxiliary Corps, won't be long, and you'll be getting calls looking like me.
Yeah, what is the circle up to these days, anyways?
Oh, you know how Laguna is. Always something to get up to. Convoys that need to be escorted. Corporate shipments that have a little excess that need to be properly reallocated.
Of course.
Mining rights in dispute. The usual. Fortunately, no major conflicts since, oh, you remember. I told you about Mongoose.
If I do.
It happens out there. It's a rough life, thrilling life. And I suppose the amount of prestige comes down to who you work for and how much recognition you get. But it can be a short life.
Here's hoping that doesn't happen to us.
So we fill it with as much as we can, ain't that right?
Yeah, that we do. I just need something to do around here.
Well, with some of the things I've been hearing, should have something to do. Can't imagine they're gonna have an asset such as yourself and pumped all this time and money into. sit on your ass for too long.
That's true. Gotta say, it was great seeing you. Hopefully, I'll be able to make a trip back into the diaspora sometime. Hopefully not in the too far future. You're not too old on me.
Well, you know, when you have an extra 10 years to spare.
Yeah, exactly.
One of these days, maybe we'll cross blades again. Be fun.
Yeah, show you all I've learned.
So, tell me more about what you've been up to. Zoom off as you continue your conversation in more personal terms. People you've met, things you've done, hobbies you've worked on. And we'll pull back. Who's next?
What's up?
All right. Mr. Logan Ahoro. Desperado. Let me just pull something up real quick here. Just to double check. All right. Yeah, let me ask you a similar starting question. Are you staying at the academy, or are you staying, have you picked up a place on the civilian ring?
Definitely my own place.
All right. So our floating camera zooms again through a number of buildings, not terribly far, to a similar but different residential area. We zoom in. And I think, interestingly enough, we also find you sitting at a desk in front of a OmniNet screen. Instead of seeing the call initially start up, I think first you are hanging on that incoming call screen, and you see the IPSN logo that just blinks as the call, the ringtone, as it were.
I think about it. I consider just letting it go to voicemail.
That's entirely up to you. Either
No.
would say something about your character.
Correct. Neither of them wrong, if we're being honest. But I am going to answer. I'm going to answer the call.
All right. The call picks up. Mr. Ahora, I hear congratulations are in order.
Technically, yes.
This is, of course, Mr. Dane Stormkirk. Your IPSN handler, talent scout, if you were. Somebody you've known, of course, for quite a while, going all the way back to, well, your reason for being here, I suppose. Before we continue the conversation, actually, let's have you describe Desperado for us, and perhaps with that description, a brief reminder of, well, what exactly brought you here.
Of course. Logan Desperado stands at about 6'2", very athletic build, probably more dexterous than, sort of strength based. Not to say that he is not strong. He's got light brown skin. Hair is cut short here on the sides. He's got a little bit on top. Looks like could start locks with some work, but at the moment it's just sort of unruly hair. He's clean shaven. I will say He has an arm sleeve, like one sleeve of tattoos. Probably a few recent additions to the piece. And what brought him here was a little dust up from some pirates that were attempting to ransack an ISPN facility. They were attempting to acquire some resources, and, well, Logan was integral to stopping it, albeit with some repercussions for himself, which I'm sure you'll see at some point.
Yes, we'll leave more of the details for ominous flashbacks in the future. But yeah, let me ask: is it clearly visible on your person, those repercussions, or is it well camouflaged?
Especially head up. Those are fine. Small scars. The major repercussions are typically not too visible unless you really know what you're looking for.
All right. Well, perhaps we'll learn more about Mr. Ahura in the future. But for now, we will return for the call with Mr. Stormkirk. Well, I hear it. You are properly certified, all the boxes checked off, and on your way to proper Union service.
That I am.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling, I guess.
He sits up straight, straightens his tie, smooths out his shirt. Yeah, again, give me a real quick description of Mr. Dame Stormkirk, if you have one.
Definitely looks to be in his 40s. Has probably seen service, and sort of keeps himself in that same sort of upkeep as far as dress and how he keeps, facial hair and hair just in general. He's got like really bright blue eyes. He's definitely, got the salt and pepper. And always got, whether it's genuine or not, there's always a smile.
I think it's always genuine. It's the reason that is suspect.
Yeah, that's fair.
In my mind, adding to that description with those qualifiers, I picture Ball from SG-1 Stargate.
Okay.
Towards the later seasons when he's on Earth. If a little older, salt and pepper in the hair, but well dressed, that very tanned, almost gold sheen to his skin. As you said, bright blue eyes, very well kept. Well, I will remind you again, Mr. Ahura, that at any time you find your citizen service to be underwhelming or not lucrative enough, your services will always be appreciated at IPSN.
Yes, I am aware. You regularly remind me. I have a good memory. I have not forgotten.
Well, I don't want to push. I just want to reiterate that what you may be doing for Union as a whole and the grand scale, which of course is extremely important, cannot overlook and should not overlook the importance of, the personal touch, the smaller scale operations. I'm sure you were instrumental originally and at such an early age with your wit and forward thinking. To think what you would be capable of in support of any of our newer colonies and their well-being. Now with all of your new skills and training.
Of course. Have they changed the security policies and security protocols on Dust Haven since that incident?
Oh, of course, of course. Here at IPSN, we always put top priority in the security of our workers and our citizens, constantly reevaluating the needs of each individual planet, each individual colony and setup.
Okay. I would love to see those at some point.
That's why I remind you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can certainly pass those along as much as I can. You understand, especially with security measures, that I can't simply let that go. That would compromise security. But if you were part of that security, I won't push. I won't push. You are doing good work out there, Mr. Ahura.
Thanks, Mr. Stormkirk. I appreciate it.
But when you wake up from your years-long cryo rest between missions, do give me a call if anything changes.
I'll be sure to do that. Do they have someone in place should it take us longer than your sedentary lifestyle allows?
Oh, I'm not that old, Mr. Ahura. You wound me.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it like that.
I will pass your profile on to whoever takes my place.
All right.
You're a known quantity here at IPSN, Mr. Ahura. You have a pleasant evening, or whatever time it may be where you are.
Thanks. You too. Always a pleasure.
IPSN logo. Like, before you even get out, pleasure.
Yep. And I'm just gonna down whatever I'm drinking.
All right. We will zoom back out, and I'm gonna make the executive decision that Haley is next.
Hello. I wasn't being a coward. I was snacking, obviously. Just snacking.
So, given your particular arrangement, Miss Carey, I will ask you the same question I've asked everybody else. Do you think you would be encouraged to stay at Academy Barracks, or have you been rewarded with your own accommodations elsewhere?
I was heavily encouraged to create a better sense of camaraderie to remain in the barracks, and said no. I've been put on kind of a tight leash, though, so
okay,
I'm kept close.
So, I will say, then, that our camera will, in fact, zoom all the way out of the civilian ring and pivot among the stars and zoom back in to the Union Navy ring. But we're not going to the Academy, necessarily. This is an entire space station ring. There is more than just the school, even though it is a significant portion of it. There is, of course, a number of other military operations and flight command and research and development and different labs and all kinds of stuff that you probably don't know or really even care too much about. But there is, of course, domiciles here for faculty, staff, cadets not in the barracks. And that falls to you as well. So we see, unlike the civilian ring, where it is a very arcology-like nature meets geometric meets swooping bright lights and whatnot, we see a very sterile, very Spartan, rectangular building. Probably several stories tall. Not much on it. It has a big block print number 04 on the corner of the building. We zoom through the ground floor, up a lift, and up to the third floor, down a hallway. We come to a rather narrow door. We simply transition through, and we see, well, the space isn't as, well, spacious as the other apartments we have seen thus far. Rather tight quarters, not cramped by any means. Does Siobhan keep much in the way as personal little knickknacks and decorations?
Yes and no. It's not necessarily made to feel homey in any way, so there's not a whole lot of knickknacks. But there is an impressive computer setup. And collections of odds and ends that they keep around. But it's all really standard for like bedding and furniture and that kind of thing. It's nothing out of the ordinary.
Well, let me ask, as a Shadowrun decker myself, do you have a beanbag chair?
You know what? Yeah, absolutely. And that is where she is flopped over.
Every
with
skilled
headphones
hacker
in.
has to have a beanbag chair.
Of course. She's flopped over in this beanbag chair, big headphones, noise canceling, and she's listening to whatever is the futuristic equivalent of the Arctic Monkeys.
Excellent. Excellent. Well,
Yeah.
if that's the case, we see Siobhan just sort of flopped over in this beanbag chair. Do you also have some sort of headset? Are you doing any sort of VR computer work right now, or are you just vibing?
Just straight zoned out vibing.
All right. You're just laid back on this beanbag chair, maybe bobbing your head, moving a little bit, otherwise just chilling out. And over in the corner on your computer, we see the flashing of a call that flashes and flashes and flashes, goes dark. And flashes and flashes. Let me see. Actually, let me bring up your character sheet because I think I want to roll for this as well.
Oh yeah.
Do you have a skill trigger that might help you in noticing your surroundings?
I have no,
not really.
No, I don't.
All right, so this is just
None
a
at all.
straight D20. Have to beat a 10.
Right, well, I'm sure that'll go really well. Oh well, I got a 6.
Okay. The call flashes, 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 goes dark. And I think in a small window above your computer, we see... Well, I suppose it's harder to see the passage of time when you're not on a planet. You don't have the sunrise and sunset. But the station probably does keep some sort of artificial day-night cycle. We see the station lighting, exterior lighting, dim down into the darkness. And eventually, you will have to get up, stretch your legs, get something to eat, whatnot.
I guess, yeah.
And at that point, I presume one of the few things that you have available to you, at least readily, recreationally, is your rather impressive sprawling computer setup that I imagine takes up probably that whole wall.
Yeah.
So after doing whatever you may have gotten up to after your vibe session is over, you will notice over in the corner a message received. Omninet voicemail, as it were.
Oh no.
The call log is listed as, let me check if you've given me a name. I'm not sure you have. What is your father's name?
Oh no. Stephen.
Stephen Carey. Mr. Stephen Carey has left a message for you. Just like with Q, I will ask if you play it. If you don't, if you delete it. Either would say something about your character.
Yep. I think Siobhan looks at it. Doesn't delete it, but doesn't open it. And it goes into a little folder to the side where there are multiple unread messages.
Okay. So you drag it over into it. Have you talked to your father in a while, or is it a series of messages from him that are just waiting for you to have the spoons for them?
Yeah, we haven't talked since I left.
All right. You probably have a dozen or so messages. Of course, it's been 5 or 6 years. Actually, with travel time included for him, probably closer to 10.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we see you drag that message into this folder. And actually, because we haven't yet, we will simply see Siobhan, I imagine, just sort of stare and sigh at the computer for a bit. Go ahead and describe Miss Siobhan Carey.
Yeah. It's a little odd. She looks different because she looks tired. But in a way that is heavier. She always looks tired because she looks perpetually exhausted with bags under her eyes, and 3 days ago she attempted to put on eyeliner and it kind of smudged and she hasn't gotten rid of it yet. But she has an undercut and a flop of does whatever it wants for the most part. It's mostly messy because she just keeps running her fingers through it. But it is bright pink, recently re-dyed. And as much as she is in the military section of this space station, she's wearing all civilian clothes. Lots of layers, a lot of odd prints that shouldn't look right together, but they are. It's hand-me-down jeans. They look like mom jeans, but it's mostly because not like the fashionable kind, but the kind that truly don't fit her. So they're baggy and weird, and she has clunky boots on. Perpetually exhausted. Her nails are bitten down to the nail bed. And she will sit there at her desk, and as she is kind of staring off into space, thinking about things she doesn't want to think about, her finger's going to go back up to her mouth. She's going to start spiraling a little bit.
Do you have a flashback for me? Something to do with your father, or perhaps why you left.
Yeah. She's sitting there and she's thinking about the last time that they talked.
Somewhere between 5 and 10 years ago, prospectively.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't good. She made a big mess of it. He was so disappointed, and he wouldn't get angry. And it just made her more and more upset.
With everything I've done to give you the resources to lead a good life, this is what I know you can do better, Siobhan.
They don't give us anything. They say they give us everything we need, and you don't get anything. They're wasting you.
We live in a society.
They're wasting both of us.
We live in a society, Shushi. It's not just me. It's not just you. We work for the unity of our society. We all contribute.
We live to make other people content. We could do so much more.
There's a right and a wrong way, Siobhan.
Bullshit.
Well, how much better do you think you can make things in a cell? You think you don't have resources now, that they don't give me or you what we need? Recognition. You're not gonna do that locked in a basement somewhere.
They certainly recognize something. They put me in the military.
I heard that was an option, and I am glad you took it. It beats the alternative. But you could have lived a happy, quiet, peaceful life here or on any number of the core worlds. And now my baby girl's gonna be out there. They could stick you on some backwater rim world, fixing air purifiers. You could be stuck out on patrol, traveling in light speed for 10, 20, 50 years before I see you again. Or you could wind
They're
up
not going to
floating
ignore
in
us
space.
anymore. I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna make sure that they can't ignore us anymore. I don't care how I do it, because
Oh, I
doing
do.
it your way certainly hasn't worked.
You know, I only want you to be safe. To be happy. You're always so angry all the time. Always reaching for more. I want you to have more. I also want you to live. And have a life. A real life.
Yeah.
Like what me and your mother had. Or whatever version that might look like for you. And if that's the military, I can accept that. But this wasn't your choice. Not really. They haven't given you long. I suspect you have, well, very little things they will let you pack, but some. Go tend to putting this life on hold, whatever that means for you. I think with that, he gets up from a table you've been sitting at. You may have been pacing at this point, but he gets up, slight shake to his head. Again, never raises his voice. Never tries to stare you down. Just that disappointed, not just in you, maybe even himself. He gets up and walks out of the room.
I think for the first time in her life, Siobhan picks something up, like they're in the kitchen or something, and she picks up a glass and she throws it at a wall.
You see him stop at the doorway. Inhale. Step through. And with that, we are back in your room. Modern day. Far Station 12. You see that stare off into space. And we'll follow that stare out through the window, out winding through the buildings again, out through the transparent titanium, or whatever it is that makes up the windows of this space station. Out into space. We see the station, the two rings of Far Station 12 get smaller and smaller. And the camera pivots just slightly before we see this flash of red. I believe it is. Flash of white. This brilliant flash of bright white. And it takes a second for our camera to match that speed, match that movement, before we see a rather nice mech. We'll get into exactly what specifications it may have later. But we see the large thruster packs on the back. We see a large sword off to one side, a number of different deployable weapons, and this sash that goes down. And we zoom in through the cockpit. And who do we see in there, Starblood?
So inside the cockpit of a throne, the first thing you see is the visor, which for a moment is opaque, reflecting the stars that come in through the open panels. But there's a sheen of light that sort of goes across it, and as it does, you see it sort of become translucent, and behind it are icy blue focused eyes standing out across a pale face, staring somewhere beyond the camera, driven towards something. With that, you see bits of green hair that sort of hang down from atop what is some sort of undercut crushed by this sleek helmet, clearly of a custom model and make, not something you would see as Union standard or for many of the major companies, at least not from a mass production line. There are streaks of gold that line the rest of the suit that is otherwise a pristine white. What you see?
All right. And our camera does stay focused on Starblood in the cockpit. Focused, moving forward. And then we see the eyes go wide, brow furrow. And we see you at the controls. Many of them, of course, neurally linked, but there are still, of course, different pads and levers and sticks that you have to control. And we see, even with the inertial dampening, you being thrown to one side as you perform these impossible maneuvers if you did not have this inertial dampening. You're moving off to one side, thrown back in the chair, pushed forward. We see you reaching up for buttons, and we see this worry on your face. And then we hear this thud as the camera just picks up some sort of reddish, orangish, purplish something. But it doesn't look like a rock. It doesn't look like a piece of a starship. We see something flaccid smack against the cockpit and slide off. And then we hear an explosion. And you are thrown to one side. We hear the pit, 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 pit of small arms fire against your chassis. We hear warning lights, radiation lights, toxin lights flashing. And worry spreads over your face. Actual fear. And we see your hand reach up and press a red button. And we see the bolts shoot out from throne as atmosphere sucked out into space as you eject. But before you can focus on whatever may be around you, you are just in darkness. But you feel something under your feet. You are standing on something. You take a step forward, and it's not as if there's any light illuminating. Maybe your eyes are adjusting. But as you step forward, you notice a tank to one side. Large cylindrical tank. can't make out anything more than that as you take a step forward, and there's another one off to the other side, and you can just barely make out bubbles? Something in there. Just liquid of some sort. Take a few more steps forward. You see another tank. You can see there's something in it. Maybe humanoid in shape. Maybe there's a person in there. Take a few more steps forward. And again, it's not as if there's any illumination. But you turn to that one and you see yourself floating in this tank. It's mask attached to your nose and mouth. Just sort of limply floating there. And suspended in whatever liquid, presumably, is in this tank. But you don't stop and inspect. No, you are driven to step onward and onward. There you are again. But gaunt, gray. Not necessarily old, but decayed, desiccated, dead. Step onward and onward. And you see yourself again, this time presumably older. Not terribly so, but older. But it's fuzzy. You know it's you, but you can't make out your face. Whether you think about it, regardless, you are propelled onward. Take a few steps forward. And you see another tank, but it's shattered. You can hear the sloshing and the crunching of glass underneath your feet as you continue pressing forward and forward. And then you get to the end of this hallway, and there is just a mass of this reddish, orangish, pulsating flesh spread out across the wall. You can see one tendril leading back to that broken tank. There's raised ridges, perhaps scales even in some patches. Some of it is bubbling. You think for a second you even see an eye pop open and close real quickly. And you take another step forward, and out of this fleshy wall you see your face. And then you wake up in your room. You are sweating profusely. You cough as you gasp. Apologies for headphone users. And you catch your breath, sitting up straight in your bed. Pitch black. 2 questions for you, same as before. Do you have your own room, or are you in a Navy room? And 2, are you sharing that room tonight?
Havoc definitely has his own place, his own room. I like to think that it is a fairly spacious one, all things considered, only the best for the best. No, I don't think he's alone tonight.
Then the camera will see, in the darkness surrounding you, just illuminated enough with that stage lighting to indicate you are otherwise in pitch darkness. We see the rustling of somebody beside you, and this pale feminine hand come up and sort of brush against your shoulder. You twitch, and she lets go, sits up, and just sort of puts both hands on both of your shoulders and doesn't say anything, but definitely lets you know her presence is there. How about you describe if there's anything to amend Starblood's appearance now outside of his flight suit and cockpit, and also if you have, I actually have a description of Lisbeth.
So, Starblood, John, Havoc, Creighton, Vizier Harrison IV, usually has a very carefully primmed and prepped, sort of swooped over undercut. It's short hair the rest of the way around, except for this bit of curly waviness that comes down about halfway to his very sort of sharp-pointed cheeks, in a very classic anime-esque, slightly brighter than watermelon green. But on this particular night, it is plastered against the side of his face, stuck with sweat, tangled just a bit from what I imagine is the jostling that happened before he started awake. As I mentioned before, very pale skin that sort of, with the stage lighting, sort of is illuminated just a bit, setting him against the background of this dark room and the white sheets that just barely are managed to be noticed through that darkness. He is, for all intents and purposes, at least shirtless here, making it very clear that he takes very good care of himself. He's very athletic, but lithe. He's not wide. He's not particularly heavily muscled, but the muscles that are there are clearly noticeably defined and toned. It's the clear mark of someone who has put a lot of effort and precise concern into not just the functionality, but the aesthetic of their appearance. And I think in this moment he is white knuckle gripping the sheets, panting heavily, hunched over, eyes finally starting to sort of come down from that wide, shocked expression that he awoke to. And I think there are just small bits of the purple lipstick that he tends to wear sort of still there, not perfectly removed, as his return to his bed on this night was not one that came after the normal sleeping prep, if you would. But the purple is that same purple known as the bruise that you see on Harrison Armory's flag and symbol.
And beside you, stage lighting widening enough to see your surroundings, we see an Asian woman, pale skin, long hair, a little bit of bangs above her eyebrows, clutching the sheets up to her chest because we're based on a 90s television story. She leans in, holds both of your shoulders. She too has the smear of makeup underneath her eyes. It looks like she usually has these sort of, I believe they're called cat eye points that are sort of smudged. You can see the purple of your faint lipstick sort of smeared with the red that she usually keeps on her bottom lip. And we just see her there, holding on to you, and she gives you a moment to catch your breath. Maybe straighten up a little. More nightmares, my dear.
It can never just be simple or easy, can it? I'm fine. It's fine.
It's a stressful time for you. I know. Believe me. I know. It hasn't been that long since I've been in your position. Done with my exams and my classes and waiting for your first mission. I know you're ready for it, but I know the stress of simply sitting here waiting.
It will come, I'm sure. I don't understand why they would wait so long and waste the opportunities, but I'm certain and that eventually they'll recognize it.
The Orion arm is long, my dear. I'm sure eventually there will be a problem that is nearby enough for your expertise. Do you want to talk about it?
No. Thank you.
Okay. I know you haven't been seeing your doctor recently. You know I'm not one to push, but it has been recommended. And if it would help you sleep, I would certainly welcome the restful night.
Is that what we're calling it now? Recommended.
There are some things you have to do in the service of Union that you wouldn't otherwise.
Yes, yes. And of course, it was only I who had to do this in the service of Union and not the miscreant who started the problem. But yes, you're right. It's fine.
They hold you to a higher standard because you are a higher caliber, Tavik.
You're right. I know you're right. You're right.
We have to make sure your mind, and she brushes your hair, is as fit as the rest of you, and she sort of pats your chest. A quick peck on the cheek.
What would they do without me?
Do you want to lay back down, or are you getting up?
I think he's going to take a moment and look over the pad that he usually wears on his arm that's connected to his dermal gear, and he's going to give it a quick tap to check the time.
It's
See?
it's
yeah,
late.
please.
Yeah, it's well into the night cycle. Probably equivalent of somewhere 3-4 a.m.
And he's going to take a moment and sort of just look at it before it dims and fades again. No.
Do
Why
we
don't
see
you
any...
go back?
Let me actually ask, do we
Yeah.
see anything interesting on that pad? Analysis of anybody else, specifications on your mech or somebody else's, rankings in the scrapyard.
So I think that as it is tapped, when it comes up, there's obviously almost like a standard phone. You see the time centered, but then there is a active sort of data stream on the side that is broken up into, I'd say, 3 different widgets. One of which seems to be the active, like, live data from Throne. Just keeping track of any systems that are running while it's dormant, any work that's being done on it, projected time to completion, who it is from engineering crews who are working on it, things like that. I think that beside that, there is the rankings for everyone who is currently working in AUX, with him obviously soundly squarely placed at the top. And there is a gold bar that sits behind his name, keeping it highlighted, and the rest are sort of in a darker gray for the sake of him being able to easily glance at it and just know if there's anything to be concerned about at any point. Above that is what looks like a series of icons, one of which is recognizable as sort of a messaging icon, which has a 3 next to it for unread messages. And beside that is a little, like, news scroll icon. And above that, there's a little pop-up. And it says, Harrison Armory senators respond, and then the rest is cut off by whatever else. Yeah, by the ellipsis. I think that is just about it. There is a yes, yeah, that's it.
I imagine we see your eyes linger on the analysis of Throne for just a beat longer than you normally would, just consoling yourself that your mech did not just blow up. It's fine. It's in the bay. It's good.
If I may, so I think there is that moment where his eyes linger, and then the screen fades, and that is when he turns back to Lisbeth and goes, "No, I'm up. Lay back down." And he is going to shift to the edge of the bed and slide on the pad, and grab his pants.
You can see her hand sort of just slide down your back as she lays back and turns over.
He slips on his shoes, and he's going to leave the room and begin to make his way towards the engineering bed.
Okay.
Towards Throne.
Do you want to play that out in particular, or do we just see you walking down the hall?
No, I think you see him leave, and you see him look down at the pad again, like he's double checking, and then the doors close. I think that's where you leave him.
All right. With that, we will once again, we'll zoom down the hallway, past Tavik's shoulder as you are on your way to the Lancer hangar, until we get to the open street. And we can see again, as it is on the display here, a number of buildings, but eventually you see the two big walls of, not glass, because that would be a structural weakness, but you can see outside amongst the stars. And we zoom out and we simply see the station rotate for a while. And we are a tad early, but I think with character introductions complete, this is where we are going to take our break. So, we're gonna go take a break right now, 10 minutes or so, get up, stretch, do all the human things, get your quick repair on, and we will be back. Enjoy our little intermission screen and some more tunes, and I hope to see you back here for the second half of our first episode, when we get all of these amazing characters together, and maybe get this first mission going. Or at least figure out what the problem may be out in the far reaches of the Orion Arm. Get up, but be sure to plant your butts right back down here in 10 minutes. We'll be right back, folks.
Bye.
All right, we are back, folks. Normally, I would jump right back in, but because Nightbot seems to have abandoned us, I'm going to do some quick shout-outs here. I want to say thank you specifically to my wonderful cast here for giving me such wonderful narrative gifts for all of your characters and your NPCs and these locations. It's been a collaborative effort between all of us to create just what we've come up with so far, and this is the tip of the iceberg, guys, so stick around for some great character building. Not just this episode, but throughout the entire season. Go check them out. We're gonna do a full where you can find everybody during our outros, so stick around for that. In the future, I'm gonna have Nightbot be able to just shout everybody out as soon as I figure out wherever Nightbot went to. But I also want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor for this show. The Starcrier Conflict is brought to you in part by Veil of the Void Reforged. More about that later in the outro, but definitely go check them out. You can find them. This is something else I'm going to get Nightbot to do whenever I can track it down. But go check out. It is. I know this. publisherssdg.com, or simply throw in Veil of the Void in your search engine of choice and it'll bring it right to it. They're also on Twitter under the same name. I think it's SDG Creatives. I will get you the appropriate link going forward. Stick around for the outro. Great science fantasy game. I am on their own Twitch channel playing a show over there. Great group of people, great creators, and a great game. So go check that out. But do that after this show, because we have more to get back to. So, let's bring us back in then. Thank you, Lion, for dropping that link. Awesome. Normally, I would try to pick us back up in some sort of climactic event. But I think for now, actually, I simply want to ask my players, in this time between finishing your training and waiting to go out on a mission, would any of you hang out either all together as a group or with any one person individually? Do you have any scenes to introduce any of your relationships with your fellow Lancer pilots? I have something in mind, but I want to throw it off to you guys if you want to build your own stories.
August. Did you build stuff, or is it okay, cool.
I believe both Solitaire and Blacksmith spend a good deal of time in engineering.
Gotcha. Okay. Logan would definitely also be there. He's working on a prototype. And like has been for a while. Has seen a couple of iterations of it. So when he's not off doing his own thing, and while we're waiting, he's definitely been taking a lot of time to work on that, so it's ready for the next mission.
I mean, August spends a good chunk of time in there working on his mech as well. And he's definitely, he has his own prototype weapon actually on Epithet. But he would be super interested in whatever you're doing over there and would definitely volunteer to help. And depending on the situation, he would totally drag Blacksmith over as well. Be like, hey, what you got? Can we help?
Yeah, sure. So I've got an arm cannon, right? That I want to have a couple of different features. And I'm sort of stuck on the best way to shift between the different energy types, as it were.
I mean, that's an interesting puzzle there, because that's such a small space to work in, so you really got to be, the efficiency of whatever systems you put in there have to be really top notch, otherwise, well, it'll either blow up or it just won't work.
Right. the first one blew up. The second one didn't work. The third one worked 40% of the time. And he's got a draft table with schematics,
And-
several different ones.
And are you trying to like attach this like into your hard suit, or what's the plan here? Or is this like a person, like something that you can wear outside of it as well?
Well, so I'm trying to start with the personal, but I want to make sure that the mechanics work on a small scale for when I make it for a bigger scale.
Right. Yeah, it's just that, like, I mean, if you're out of the mech, and like, if if we're in a combat situation and you have to attach your hard suit, you also have the odd chance that you drain your suit and then you're stuck.
All right.
Until we get you rebooted. So.
Right.
Yeah, that's where the whole efficiency comes in.
Yeah.
Because it depends on how much kind of draw. Though, there's a chance we could probably make some modifications to your hard suit as well. Give it a little more capacity.
Okay.
Might make it a little bulkier and such, though.
That's fine. I'm used to doing a bit of heavy lifting. That's fine. I do all our cardio with ruck. With the rucksack. So.
Well, if you got a decent like my suit, the one I usually use, it's an assault class hard suit, so it's got some servos and stuff in there to help take the weight and such as well. So you're not just doing everything with your own joints and muscles, but and I got some ideas now.
Yeah, see, August, you're more of the idea guy. I'm more of the, like, once you have the schematics, then I can just help you build it kind of guy.
And he immediately pulls out a tablet. He just starts. He starts drawing like circuitry and things like that, and start looking at the capacitors and diodes and there's a lot of like swiping this piece in, taking it out, swapping around, looking at efficiencies in the current and all this kind of stuff. And he kind of gets lost for a minute, like
Lost in the sauce. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you boys having fun with your toys?
Yeah. You want to come see?
Sure, which Megan?
Cool.
The other one blow up?
Not the third one.
Mm.
The third one worked. It just only worked some of the time.
Was it most of the time?
No. No,
All
not
right.
at all. Yeah.
Was it?
So I think it does have something to do with the draw power, with like the energy. The output is good, and then it's only good that one time, and then the rest of it good. And also switching between takes a lot of energy. So, like, I'm not super good at like the electronic hardwiring. I can get the job done, but yeah. So that's the puzzle I'm working on right now.
Well, if there's an issue with the swapping from one waveform to another, or whatever, could technically do, rather than having a system that fully swaps over, if you have basically multiple systems in there and you're just switching from one system relay to another rather than the whole thing changing, it'd take a little bit more finagling to get everything in there, but it should switch over faster with far less draw time.
Okay.
Did you automate the output correctly?
Probably not.
Can I see your coding?
Oh,
Y'all,
yeah.
is this going to be like a coffee or a booze helping find solutions kind of thing here?
I would kill for French fries.
Got both, and we can always order food.
You know what? I'm gonna go get some food real quick. Give me your orders, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
Something with bacon.
Double that.
Curly fries.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna make a fresh pot. Like, it's probably cowboy coffee, for sure.
Oh yeah.
And then he's got whiskey. Just has glasses at the ready. Also, I will point out, like I said, draft table. So his schematics, he does have a tablet. It is on a desk, and he's got like actual paper schematics for the things.
Picture at some point, August is going to bring over some kind of projector kind of thing, like that's keyed in with his data plating and augments and stuff, so that he can manipulate like all these virtual reality items and stuff like that y'all can see. Kind of Tony Stark like. There's just
Full Minority Report.
yeah, exactly. He's just
All right. So I think we see time speed up a bit. Blacksmith comes back with a big bag of greasy food, plops it down, and you guys can snack while drafting things out. And we can see a number of armatures sort of come over that I imagine Solitaire plugs into or interfaces with, and Blacksmith takes a more hands-on approach to working with this stuff. The three of you working on this this personal beam cannon, of course, while Siobhan goes over the code. Let me ask though, Siobhan, what brings you to this little workshop in the engineering bay? Were you invited?
Absolute boredom.
You just decided
No.
to wander over, see what was going on.
I heard familiar voices. I'm bored.
Mm.
And I know that I can usually get free food if I linger long enough.
Yeah, that's one way to do it. Let me ask, which will probably be a frequent question anytime any amount of raw data is handed over to you. Is this beam arm cannon schematic and power distribution and code and whatnot safe in your hands? Or are you maybe swiping something? Are you doing anything to it?
I feel like Desperado and I have an understanding. It's an unspoken understanding. So if it were anyone else, it would not be safe. But I've decided I like this one. So I'll be nice for now.
All right. Well, I think we're going to roll to see what happens here. And we're probably not going to make this beam cannon right now. But I would like, Haley, I'd like you to roll me something. And I think your hack or fix will help in, as you said, the power distribution and output modulation of this device. And for the actual mechanical engineering stuff of this, our three mechanics over here, I would like one of you to be the actual roller. And then in Lancer, somebody can provide support, which will give you +1. It's not advantage in the system. Is it advantage?
Would it be accuracy?
Accuracy. +1 accuracy to that roll. So you would add an extra d6. Unfortunately, that doesn't stack, so it doesn't matter that you have two people helping you. But who would like to make the roll? I imagine, since it's Q's project, Q, you're going to make the roll, actually. And then somebody can help you with that. So, Q, Logan, Desperado, do you have a skill trigger that's going to apply here?
Yes.
You do. Invent or create. So that
sure
is going to be 1d20 +2 for your skill trigger, plus 1d6 for the +1 accuracy support.
Nice. That's gonna be a 22.
All right.
Nice.
I believe I will have to double check. This might not. I'm not sure if criticals really do anything outside of combat. But I will double check again. First game, we will all get more accustomed to the rules as we go on. But I'll double check and make a note of this. So actual engineering, you said 22, and Haley, Siobhan, Bite, what did you get for the program?
Yes. Programming was a total of a 19.
Nice.
Two very good rolls. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, we just made
I
you
think-
a baller. Freaking
Right?
You made something, yeah. All right, I might just put together some sort of special equipment for you in the future. This might take some time to work on, but this might show up as a gear reserve at some point that you can use.
Oh, yeah.
Straight up
Sweet.
Samus Aran.
So once again, we see the illumination, the artificial day-night cycle of the station sort of dip down well into the evening as you guys continue your project, and eventually you all disperse. Unless, Lion, would you like to interject?
If I may.
No.
I think as we're getting late into the evening, have made quite a lot of progress, obviously. There's a moment where the camera sort of pans after a celebratory moment from y'all, and there's just the shadow at the door of this workshop. I assume it's one of those large gated, sliding open sort of traditional workshop doors for easy access in and out. And as it sort of pans up, you see Havoc, Starblood, standing there leaned against the side of one of these thick warehouse, workshop panel doors, arms crossed, in his full sort of white and gold outfit, complete with why can't I remember what they're called now? Epaulettes, complete with the gold epaulettes. And there's a moment where he just sort of stands there silently watching all of this. And then he steps into the workshop, and I think there's a moment where he stops sort of just a few feet behind a lot of you, where there's an amassment of the sort of trash from the food that y'all had gotten. And he very carefully picks up one of the very greasy wrappers from something that held bacon, extra bacon.
Hell yeah.
Sort of looks it over and then drops it. Thought I heard familiar voices.
Oh, hey there, Tavik. What brings you this way?
Curiosity, Solitaire.
Well, we're here. You're here.
Astute, Uhura. And how's it going here?
It's going well.
Good.
Swimmingly, as it were, actually.
Starblood looks up at Ethan for a moment, and then back towards the rest of them. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. Truly. I look forward to seeing what progress is being made. Please don't stop on my account.
Oh, don't worry, I didn't. I'm he's still.
And planned on it. Oh,
It's okay. The great Starblood has given us his blessing to move on.
Oh, boy.
oh. You want a drink, or are you just gonna stand there holding a food wrapper?
I think there's still some fries in there if you want some.
No, those are mine.
He can have some of mine if he wants.
Let's go. No, I think I'm perfectly fine without, though I appreciate the time-honored tradition of stuffing oneself with fat and grease.
Lots of protein in there. It's good for building your muscles.
Not to
There
mention
are
script of the soul.
plenty of ways to get protein without the rest of the hangers on.
Yeah, but that ain't nearly as fun.
Or
Can't
good.
go getting fat on that silver spoon, can you?
You know, Terry, it always strikes me as particularly humorous when it comes from you. I would think of anyone here, you would be the one who would be most reticent to treat something like my origins as a negative.
Yeah. Bet you thought about that real long and hard, didn't you?
As long as hard as I think about any of this.
That's the problem.
Is it?
Hmm. When you decide
Let
to
me
get off
stop.
that high horse, you might see a lot more.
Let me stop before Michonne comes to your rescue again, and we have another incident. I know
I
it
would
can be
like to
difficult.
flashback. Unless you have something you want to wrap up with that statement there, I'd like to flashback.
I was going to say, I know it can be difficult to keep one's hands to themselves sometimes.
So,
With that, yes, keep one's
Good
hands to
hands.
themselves
We all gotta do it
at
together.
some time. And I think we spin with Starblood talking to Bite here, Tavik talking to Siobhan. The camera spins over Tavik's shoulder, so we are looking behind to see Athen in the background. Before we doodle-doodle, what do you have a particular non-verbal response to any of this? Are you white knuckling, or do you really just not give a fuck?
Mostly not give a fuck, but it's one of those cases where, like, I'm just gonna go back to what I'm working on and just casual, just flip the bird.
There you go.
Nice.
Maybe some angry wrenching for a second. Just...
Yeah.
All right, and then the camera will sort of flash fade back. Sometime later, we see this group again back in some sort, what looks like a briefing room of some sort. There's chairs off to one side. There's a sort of raised podium where the what is the term, the Battlestar Galactica term, the CAG. Well, the person in charge, I'll remember it sometime, would preside over the briefing and whatnot. And a little ovular table that probably has like a holographic projector to go over whatever mission may be about to happen, or in this case, the mission that just happened. And we see this group walk in, holding their helmets down by their side. Many of them look upset. They're sweating and got that helmet hair going on. And
Bite
we hear...
definitely has a bloody nose.
And we hear just the very end of some sort of comment from, I believe it was Tavik. We don't get.
It was loud.
Yeah, we hear the exclamation of something, and then the camera sort of zooms in on Athen, specifically not to his face, but to where he's holding his helmet down by his side, and the camera follows as he raises and chucks the helmet at Tavik's back.
Hey, easy.
And I think there's a very loud thunk as it hits, and it sort of like echoes off the walls of the room. Right? Not a particularly massive room, and immediately the like exclamation stops dead, and he pivots, looking back at Athen, eyes zeroed in as he drops his own helmet. And you can see his fists immediately sort of ball up as he goes, really, that's what we're doing now. We're being childish. Because, and as he's saying that, he's getting closer. He's clearly getting ready to square
And that's
up.
okay. I'm charging to and rolling up my sleeves. And you can just see the haymakers about to come out.
Logan's gonna
August
get
is
in between.
immediate. Yeah.
Who's
Yeah.
who's on who?
I think I see them like they're both like in between. Like
Yeah, I think August probably has Ethan, and then I've got Tavik. Just like
whoa. No.
So
Hold
you
on,
guys
hold on.
can break up the fight, but we're throwing the initial punches.
But yeah.
We're I don't know if we're gonna go full Starship Troopers brawl here, but we're gonna throw some punches and then you guys can break it up. Now, outside of mech combat, it is not nearly as tactical. It's narrative like any other narrative play. There's not really initiative in this, but I think since, well, Andrew, you started this.
Yeah.
What how would you proceed? What's your action, and what might you roll for?
I would. Now, is this like using skill triggers or?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have to use skill triggers, but skill triggers will apply. But if something you describe is something that I want to, make happen by the dice, your skill triggers may apply.
The first thing, just because just from having to train with Tavik, and I know the way he is, he does not like his appearance getting messed up. So it's gonna be quick, grab his shirt, pull him close, and just a quick jab to the face, going right for the nose.
Good.
Okay.
So, as I say, I don't know if show off or take control would apply to either of those, but
Well, I do know this specific skill trigger. It is called Apply Fist to Face, specifically.
I don't have that one actually.
Yeah. Since you are literally applying a fist to someone's face, without that, I'm going to say you don't have the skill trigger.
Yeah.
So that would be a flat roll.
Yeah, I got 8.
Are there opposed rolls in this, or is it just versus the flat DC?
Now, yeah, I don't believe that there are opposed rolls in Lancer here. There's skill challenges, but that doesn't really. Generally, NPCs don't roll during narrative combat. What happens to them or what they may do is a result of whether you succeed or fail. So if you fail, you get punched in the face. Unfortunately, PvP, player versus player, character on character, it gets a little harder to define. But yeah, no, I think no, we're just gonna have this be a brawl. So I'm gonna let you roll, and then what happens to Tavik? Sorry,
there
go ahead,
are
Sean.
contested roles. There are contested roles in
I'm missing
Lancer.
something. Okay.
Yeah, basically both of you roll, and whoever gets higher wins.
All right, let's do that. Sounds good to me.
I have an argument to make for one of my skill triggers.
Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Tavik. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so Tavik has obviously grown up in a very, very heavily military background, and has been training for most of his life, both as a pilot and in things like proper weapon usage and hand-to-hand combat. I would like to put forward that I have the take control skill trigger, which says using force or violence to take control of something. I would like to argue that as Ethan grabs him by the collar and pulls him in to throw that punch, instead of just trying to return a fist, he is going to attempt to catch the arm and put him down. Just get him on the ground and restrain him. Maybe forcefully.
Yeah.
Not
okay. At least
the most
temporarily.
polite.
Yeah.
Yes. At least.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you have a skill trigger line, so you can roll your d20 plus 2. And I think it's a flat roll for Ajax.
Yep.
Athens.
Yep.
I got a 20.
Yeah, I didn't.
All right.
I got an 8.
No.
So-
is it okay if I narrate this, or
Go
do you
ahead.
want?
Oh,
Please.
yeah, that's perfectly fine with me.
Okay. Yeah, so I think there's that moment where they're just coming at each other, and Starblood is yelling about him acting like a child, and I know you said Ethan's just getting into it, and they get close, and there's a moment where Starblood, it looks like, is going to throw that punch, but you're just faster than he is. And so you get him by the collar and you pull him in, and that makes him like have that half step that kind of throws him off as well. You see the moment of like, ah, shit on his face as your fist comes flying in. And then at the last second, you see, again, it's almost this anime-esque moment of his eyes sort of narrowing and that shit-eating smirk as he pulls himself to the side, catches your wrist, and then leans back as he pushes his foot across your ankles to bring you down to the floor with your momentum. And proceeds to try to at least sort of kneel down and get his knee across the back of your like shoulder blades to keep you down. Yeah.
And I'm just gonna be like trying at my best to like get out of your grip and just like, you know that you're not fucking better than us, right? The leaderboard might say something, but you cost us a lot out there, you fucking smartass.
I cost us a lot. That means a lot coming from you down there. Please, if anyone cost us any problems, it was you. You and your friends refusing to take any sort of common sense here.
I imagine
And
at
I
this
did
point,
you knock it off?
Yeah,
Sean
and as
takes
soon as
one
like
side,
hands are on him. Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Solitaire takes one side, Desperado takes the other, and I think there is still a scuffle. It doesn't turn into like a 4-person brawl or anything, or in this case, what would be a 3-on-1
I'd
person
lose.
brawl. But whether you want to admit it or not, Tavik is very well trained and in very good shape, and that shows. So you can't just rip him off. And this doesn't last long before, well, the person who sent you on this mission that you just failed, Commander Bastion Bauer, call sign Blue Wall. I don't think anybody but Siobhan notices this, being the only person who's not directly in this scuffle right now. Moves surprisingly quickly and surprisingly quietly for somebody who is a towering, bulky figure. Quickly moves up into this brawl, just sort of grabs Tavik and Athen by the back of their collars and just rips you off the ground and pushes you into the wall. The fuck do you cadets think you're doing?
Defending myself, sir.
Trying to humble this asshole, sir.
You did a bad job of it.
Quiet down, a lot of you. Sort of pulls you off the wall and pushes you away from each other. What did I just get done telling you about teamwork?
Yeah, well, they need to hear it again, sir.
Somebody needs to realize that they're not the only ones with good fucking ideas.
Got plenty of teamwork between the 4 of us.
It's not how this works. Anyone you launch with, you come back with, you work with, you rely on.
Okay. That goes both ways, Tavik.
Alright, normally, I would just let this fuck up go, because quite frankly, the odds were stacked against you.
More than that.
But apparently, this is a brand new test I have to run for you sorry new cadets. And one you just failed. So, because of that, I want reports from each of you. Post-operation reports, each of you. Full detail. On my desk, 1900 hours.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Like I said, I don't want to hear any lip about these assignments from any of you for at least 2 damn months. You learn to work together. Get over whatever this is, because I'm not having it. I will bust you back down to mechanized cavalry, like that. Because I don't care how skilled you are. If you're a liability out there for me, or any of your teammates, you will not be in this corps. Get out of here.
Sir.
And I think there's a moment where Tavik sort of like, after he leaves the room, you hear the sound of like something being hit. It's like that sound of like flesh against like hollow metal.
Okay. And
A
I
locker
think
or something similar.
that actually, everyone files out of the room. For dramatic purposes, we'll say Starblood is the last, probably leering at everybody as they go. Turn, walk out the door, and we don't see exactly what you apply pressure to where, but we hear that smack, that crash, or crack. And as you turn to leave, we see the doors slide open again, and we see the broad, blue uniformed shoulders of Commander Bauer turn. And that's where we're going to fade back into modern day again. Here at perhaps the precipice of yet another potential scuffle.
Okay. You two, shut the fuck up. That's what I want.
And sorry to cut you off, Hugh. I'll remind you and point out to the audience, this was a good 2.5, 3 years ago. You've had some time to deal with it. But I imagine there's no good blood. Maybe not necessarily really bad blood, but there's no good blood between Athen and Starblood, or Blacksmith and Starblood.
Yeah. Okay. Couple of things. We're at my station. So, I'm going to invoke hospitality. You leave that shit outside of it. Also, we've been waiting. All of us have been waiting to get a mission. I'm sure we're all going stir crazy. Let's not fuck that up by being catty.
I'm just saying, that won't be a problem on my end. I got a project to work on.
I appreciate the offer of hospitality. I do not think that there is much good to come of it, at least right now. But before I go, I would like to present something to be considered.
You get a buzz from your tablet, but continue.
For the entire time that we have been together, for lack of a better term, it has been very clear with a lot of you what you consider a team and what you consider to be outside of that team. And respectfully, sometimes it means being willing to be open to hearing things outside of what you normally would consider. Whenever we do get out there, maybe it is worth acknowledging that I am as good at what I do with reason, and that maybe just because the lot of you agree, as you do on most things, does not make you collectively correct.
With all due respect, we could have been wrong, but if we had been wrong together, things could have gone a little bit different.
If we're wrong together in the field, we die. And regardless of my feelings about him, and he points at Blacksmith, or the rest of you, my goal is to ensure that none of us die. So, I would rather we be right together, and you hate me for it, than we be wrong together, and some or all of us end up dead, sucked into the vacuum out there to be nothing but a forgotten mistake.
Havoc, take your own advice. Consider other opinions, and that we might be right sometimes too. I know I didn't grow up with all your training and advantages and all of that shit. But we know shit too. It's not always just you, brother.
Plus, I mean, we did all manage to graduate. We're all Lancers.
Just because we all graduated does not put us on even footing.
That shit right there.
No
No.
matter.
No. No.
But
Let me. No. I'm sick of that.
You can be sick
You
of it.
want us because I know that you expect us to simply get in line. Because you have been trained by whatever fucking military person got you and you have top marks. Sure. You don't know our life experiences. You don't know what we've gone through. So, yes, we're all Lancers. I don't give a fuck about your even footing. It's my issue with you regularly is that it's not that you think that you're right, it's that you know that you're right. And that's only based on your point of view.
And my rank and my success.
Yellow light starts blaring from the wall. Attention, Lancer Auxiliary Corps. Please muster at the briefing station. Flight Command Module 03. Repeat. Lancer Auxiliary Corps. Muster at 03. Immediately.
And I think
Well, children,
Oh yeah, please.
that sounds like someone's ringing the dinner bell. So
yep.
maybe just calm your jets for a little bit and maybe just think about it for a little while. Go get your shit. He's just gonna fucking grabs his stuff and marches off to go get the rest of his crap.
Bummer. It was getting exciting. Good to see you, Silver Spoon.
Carrie.
And shit, we'll just keep going.
Starblood, you look down at your tablet, I presume.
I think before that there's a moment where he just sort of looks at Uhura quiet. And it's not seething or disdain. There's almost a legitimate curiosity there. And then he turns, and as he goes to walk off, he will look down at his tablet.
All right. On your tablet is a simple notification of essentially a text message. Not a calendar reminder, but it is linked to the calendar widget. It is your therapist, reminding you that you have missed your recent appointment, and with a request to reschedule at your earliest convenience.
Good for him.
But you don't have time for that right now.
He just swipes it away.
And as you put your finger on it to swipe away, just above your finger, we see CC Commander Bauer. And then, once again, we smash cut over to our camera at ankle level watching as the footsteps of not only our 5 Lancers here, but probably close to 2.5, 3 dozen begin to march down this hallway quickly. Various forms of gear of their different choosing. They are not officially enlisted Navymen. They are, well, the Lancer Auxiliary Corps, which is Union's fancy regulatory wording for expendable mercenaries that the Navy has contracted out to for jobs that they don't want to risk their personnel on, and use mostly deniable assets. Not Black Ops, but also not necessarily part of the tight Union family. The camera follows these footsteps down the hallway as it did before and zooms up as we see the back of these 5, and again, a number of other individuals in various, not uniforms, but garb, grabbing their flight suits, many of them with their helmet already, some of them keep that in the hangar. You file in to the briefing room, one similar that we have seen in the flashback we just had, but standing at the front of this briefing room, at that podium, is not Commander Bauer this time. Commander Bauer is Navy. And with your promotion, side promotion, maybe, you no longer report to Commander Bastian Bauer. You have the honor, privilege, and responsibility of reporting straight to Station Commander Ronica Leary. We see the station commander. Let's see if I can get some good music here. At the top of this room. Standing there, arms clasped behind her back, she is probably much older than she looks. Both actually, physically, and most certainly relativistically. Between cryostasis and the time dilation of near-light travel, how old somebody is can differ depending on who you're talking to. It's rumored that Commander Leary is at least 300 years old. Prospectively, to the outside. No one's exactly sure of her actual age. And if you're connected well enough, you can definitely push that 2nd century with proper healthcare, augmentations, cybernetics, cosmetics. And with that, those who have the right connections can retain a lot of their, maybe not necessarily youth, but definitely more youthful. Stretch out that aging process for a lot longer. And Commander Ronica Leary does present more like an administrator than necessarily, well, like Commander Bauer. She doesn't come off as rough. Stern, certainly. She is the commander of this station. But she's tall and lean, fit, of course, but lean. Well dressed in a Union uniform, not necessarily a Navy uniform, but a Union uniform. With the regalia of her station, of course. We see the patch for Far Station 12 on her shoulder. She has long black hair that during most of the time is up in a very tight bun. Doesn't spend well, you can't really say how much time she may spend on her looks. It looks like none at all, but that look can also take a long time to produce. Depending. She stands there with, again, not that stoic, gritty look that you would expect from Bauer. Not necessarily beaming, but definitely a gentle, sort of welcoming, almost, smile. As you all file in. And up on the screen behind her, you see what looks like... You see details of a planet. And as you're falling in line, getting into your rows, you have a little bit of time to check this out. But you do also see on the hologram table just in front of the podium, you see projected a planet and surrounding space. And you notice there are these two sort of flashing red small objects in not necessarily close orbit, but not far orbit. Probably third the distance between Earth and the Moon, for reference. Let's see here. Up on the screen behind her, you see planet Dresspol 1. It's a small star system. Only a few planets. And as you come in, your tablets flash, your comms. I imagine you have these almost like large iPhone-sized tablets that you all have that can sort of clamp on to somewhere on your suit. Many of you may have like a heads-up display that you have built into your visor. Maybe you have psionics, cybernetics.
Cybernetics, yeah.
I have
plug
like
it straight into your head. Yeah. And you start getting data. Turn this down a smidge. There we go. Planet Dresspol 1. It's a barely habitable terrestrial world with a thin, hot atmosphere, boasting an abundance of accessible tantalite deposit in its crust. Tantalite is a real mineral. I'm not just trying to make this mission more tantalizing. Tantalite, of course, is a rare ore responsible for the bulk of niobium and tantalum used in high-tech fabrication and one of the most lucrative mining ventures in the diaspora. This planet, Dresspol 1, colonized only a few decades ago by an independent mining consortium made up of ex-cosmopolitans. The planet was recently seized by a known privateer microcorp near the Comet Blinkgate system. This privateer microcorp is led by Commodore Newton Riley. And I think that is all the information that is immediately presented as you are, or that you are able to look up as everyone files in and you are addressed. Well, it looks like we finally have an opportunity to prove yourselves, Lancer Auxiliary Corps. I know what they say among your rank. You're not truly a Lancer until you come back alive from your first mission. Well, now is your time to prove that. We have a recent development. As I'm sure you are aware, recent developments in relativistic time are... well, recent can mean a number of things. We just got an Omninet burst from Dresspol 1. We are unsure how long it took before this information was properly relayed, but Dresspol 1 is a ways away by conventional travel. You will be traveling to our Blinkgate system, about 2 light years from here, and then another 5 light years to Dresspol 1. Welcome to the Lancer Auxiliary Corps. time flies. Your first mission. Dressball 1 is an important operation for Union, on top of course, the value of the human lives that we do not exactly know the state of. Very valuable resources are stationed there, resources that, if you know what your mechs are actually made of, are of concern to you and the rest of Union Navy. And much has been put into this facility over the decades it was established. This micro corporation, led by Commodore Newton Riley, is a known factor in the region, but this is certainly unusual in scale for them. They seem to be emboldened for some reason, and we want to know why, on top of course, securing the facility and rescuing the civilians and workers there. Now, if you understand your training and your schooling, I'm sure you will immediately recognize that you will be getting there at least 7 years after the fact. So you will be walking into a situation that has likely been quite fortified, or simply resolved naturally. We can hope for the latter, but prepare for the former. Right now we have very basic information. I'm sure that information will become more specific and, of course, change over the next 7 years, so I will be able to present you with a preliminary briefing, but when you come out of cryostasis, you will then have a more thorough briefing before you reach your target. We will need you to fly to Dressball 1. You will break up into a number of teams. One team will take point in breaching the defenses and securing the facility, while another team provides specific support for that primary team, and others provide harrying maneuvers to distract defenses on the planet. You will get your individual assignments as we come to better understand them, but our primary squad will consist of Blacksmith, Solitaire, Bite, and Desperado. You'll be responsible for breaching the defenses, securing the facility, and rescuing whoever may not be part of this micro corporation. I'm sure it will be far more difficult than just that. We will have as much information as we can currently provide uploaded to you, and more when you reach your target. The secondary support team will consist... Actually, should have pulled up my CompCon. The secondary support team will consist and be led by Starblood, with Hajiri, Hotjaw, and apologies as I look up your fourth member, but you would of course be familiar with these individuals. And oh, of course, where'd you go? What did I? And Lich. It will be Starblood, Hajiri, Lich, and Hotjaw. Starblood, this is a team that you have worked with quite frequently. They are probably your preferred team as opposed to these other Lancers. I would suspect that you still try to, well, not necessarily ingratiate yourself with these four, but keep yourself in the orbit of these four because they are, well, there's a reason they're the primary assault squad here. You're number 1 in rankings, but of course Blacksmith is number 2. So instead of putting both of you in the same squad, they tend to split you up. Starblood, your team will be responsible for keeping the majority of the defenses off of the primary squad. Primary squad, Blacksmith, Desperado, Bite, Solitaire. You will need to blitz through as many of the defenses as you can, taking down what you can, but you will need to move quickly in order to get to the facility, secure it, and hopefully save whoever may still be there. We don't know if they are hostages, whether they are complacent, or whether they are simply, unfortunately, disposed of. But time is an important factor. As important as it can be, light years after the fact. The rest of the teams, she motions broadly to everyone else in the room, will be getting various assignments. There is more than just this facility on this planet that will need to be checked in on, secured, and we will need reinforcements laying in the wings if there are further complications. I want you all to gear up, take the rest of the day to put whatever life you have here on hold, because it will be quite some time before you get back. 7-year journey there, 7-year journey back. You can take a day. Tomorrow, 1000 hours. Report to your hangars. We'll be deploying. Any questions? Good. Take the day. I will be in communication, if not tomorrow. Hopefully, 7 years from now. Dismissed.
Yes, sir.
And you all file out of the room. You do hear chatter from people in the background. 7 years there, 7 years back. I knew this was coming, but I didn't expect them to send us so far out this quickly. Various other such chatter. Yeah, I have... Oh, my cat is... Oh.
Oh no.
I gotta call Mom.
Kitty, no.
So sad. I'm more sad about the cat.
Scared him off. He left.
I'm out of here.
He said, "No."
I want to hug my cat. My cat's
Fuck
like
that.
sitting over there, and I just like had that thought, and I was like,
Yep.
Uh-huh.
That's a wild time. Okay. Looking at the other three. So we have a day. Anybody know about this? I think I kind of want to know about the corp, but like more specifically, what kind of toys they'll have, so we know what we're going to be up against when we get there.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, but I can probably try to do some digging.
Okay.
Not familiar with them myself, but imagine we could probably, I don't know, we could probably find something, right, Shiv?
yeah, we can figure something out.
Okay.
I'm more curious, something about Tantalite. What do you do with that?
You use it to make all kinds of stuff, to be honest. A lot of the different components and pieces out of all the mechs and everything are made with tantalite, especially some of the more delicate circuit boards and various pieces and things like that. And so it's pretty damn useful.
So a group that potentially has upwards of 7 years extra of messing around with the stuff that we make everything out of is what we're heading into.
Yes. I don't know if they'll know about what to do with it, but I mean, the market might get a little crazy.
Yeah, I think it's more of a financial thing
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest, I mean, because yeah, it's used in a whole lot of things, but it's not like it's it's used in a whole lot of things.
Right.
It's a fairly common component or material, I suppose, for components. So I mean, it's not like you can do something crazy with it.
As far as high-end gear, it's an extremely valuable mineral. It's used a lot, but only in like really important things.
Right. But it's so I mean, you can make a ton of money off of it.
Okay, but not especially useful while raw.
Mm.
Yeah, it would have to
No.
be. It would have to be refined, and then you would actually have to have the facilities to manufacture things. And while there are like fabricators, a lot of things are basically a lot of what you have in Lancer is just kind of 3D printed now. There's not necessarily huge factories, but if you want to make anything either incredibly intricate, incredibly small, or incredibly large, it will take very specific fabricators of various size and complexity that a privateer microcorp might not have or be able to create or maintain or utilize.
Okay.
I mean, if
But
this
who
was
knows?
like SSD or something, then yeah, they could do lots with it. They can use it, especially like in the Bell Lux line and all that kind of stuff. They use lots of it. But I mean, I don't know. These guys, I think they're just looking to make a buck.
You know, I gotta say though, I love how it's privateer or pirate, just depending on who's paying and who's paying attention.
It's always been though.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but
You know, one nation's privateers, another nation's pirates. That's just
yeah.
that's just history.
Well, look,
man.
I've gone up against pirates before, and I will say that they have very aggressive fighting styles. So,
Yep.
might be something to be prepared for.
And if they've had a chance to settle in, they're gonna have traps for sure.
Nice. Okay.
Fortified makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
See if we can't find some information. I'd like to know what kind of electronic defenses these folks have. It might be we can shut some stuff down before we have to deal with it.
Jack, did we say what pirate group or what group?
Let's see. I don't believe they specifically listed an actual name. Let me see here.
Okay.
Pretty sure I gave them a name. Whether it made it onto my document or not is a different story.
Love that.
And that is a vibe.
Yep. This was probably something I put a note in. Just, like, insert name here. I never got back around. Yeah, right. They're a like Riley said, or Leary said, they were a known entity, but really rather small before this. And as privateer or pirate groups do, they tend to fluctuate. As far as Union Navy is concerned at the moment, they are led by Commodore Newton Riley, but they don't have a specific unified, stable organization necessarily.
Okay.
Just a bunch of assholes.
All right. Okay, so they're not like a pirate group. They're a bunch of yups, so that'll be fine.
A bunch of yups with 7 years, knowing
Cool.
that we're coming.
Sure.
Okay.
So everybody take a day.
Yeah, so
Anybody want to talk about it over Mexican food?
it's 7 to 12,000 years in the future after 2 different collapses. I don't think there's necessarily Mexican food.
You know, is
the
the
equivalent
tacos?
of
Can we
yeah,
call
There
them
could be
still
tacos.
Space
tacos?
tacos.
There's tacos. Yeah, tacos
Yeah.
are
Who knows
eternal.
where they're from anymore, but they're called a
Yeah.
taco. That's all that matters.
Say with all the fusion, there are gonna be so many tacos.
Yeah.
Like Korean barbecue taco. Yeah, no, it's
Oh
gonna
my
be a lot.
goodness. Fusion places are always so weird.
They are, but like they're so good.
Taco.
Weird.
Oh,
strange
good.
together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's the Taco Diaspora is the local
Yeah.
taco chain that has just
Oh,
tacos
yeah,
from all
those.
across the Rim worlds.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. I feel like that makes sense though. The delivery system of the food is what's remained. What is inside the delivery system is just kind of like widespread, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. You can get it in a taco, you can get a sandwich, you can get it on matzo.
So, yeah, it's interesting that a number of people in the background went, "Oh no, I got to get my life in order before I leave," and you guys are like, "Tactics. Let's talk." So, what actually, before we get to you four as you are splitting, since Starblood did not interject into that conversation, what are you doing with this first assignment?
First thing Starblood is going to do is he is going to get together the other pilots in his squad.
All right, Lich, Hotjaw, and of course your dear Hajiri.
And he's going to set Lich. I'm going to go ahead and take, if it's okay for me to sort of assign things to people.
Well, let me give you a. Because I'm
there's-
not sure.
Yeah, please,
if I messaged you about them specifically.
I don't think.
Lich is your tech guy.
Okay. I figured.
He's electronic warfare. Hotjaw is basically high mobility support. And well, you're the heavy hitter.
Mm-hmm.
And Hajiri is basically your backup.
Yeah.
Specifically, you do know, well, you, Tavik, wouldn't know, but I will tell you, Lion, she has the bonded talent.
Okay.
So she is bonded to you, so while you are within proximity, you, at least she gets some bonuses. So you two sort of fight side to side, while Hotjaw zooms around doing support stuff, and Lich takes care of electronic stuff.
Okay. So yeah, I think the first thing he's doing is he's setting Lich to try and get any information he can about these schmucks. Get them as prepped as they can be, and then to start doing projections on what they can expect to be encountering when they get there in 7 years. Just to ensure that they have some semblance of an idea. Meanwhile, I think the other thing, I think what he's going to do is have, what was it, Hotshot?
Hotjaw.
Hotjaw, I'm sorry, I will get these. So I think he's going to have a dialogue with Hotjaw as well, and have Hotjaw work on what they best projected options would be for deployment when they arrive, once they get that information from damn, I'm very bad at names, I do apologize.
Lich.
Lich, which is an obvious one, there's no reason I shouldn't remember it, I apologize.
I can make this even more confusing by giving you their actual names.
Oh, please, I think that would be more helpful.
Okay.
Whenever, we'll get there.
So, of course, you know Hajiri is Lisbeth Azamalaki, your significant other. Lich is Malcolm Kazir.
Okay.
Lich is, or Malcolm Kazir is a relatively short guy, probably in his late 30s, early 40s or so. Little bit older than you, but not terribly by much. Has this long, straight, sort of dusty lavender hair. Quite thin, not in a lithe, fit way, though. Kind of in a, well, not far off from Siobhan, really, if even more, well, it's not like he doesn't take care of himself. It just looks like life doesn't stick to him right. It's just always been a little twiggy, but extremely intelligent. Tends to be, well, he has some charm to him. despite the fact that he's not really that good looking. He's not bad, he's just, short and frail. And then Hotjaw is kind of the opposite of that. He's, well, I hesitate to make the comparison because of the actor who plays him, but Captain Dylan Hunt from Andromeda, unfortunately played by Kevin Sorbo. But
obligatory fuck Kevin
yes,
Sorbo.
Obligatory. That sort of tall, muscular, without being overly broad. That sort of very early 90s, dirty blonde, sort of coiffed hair to the back. Pretty boy. Or at least he was before he got into an explosive accident that burned a scar up the side of his jaw. Hence, Hotjaw.
Makes him hotter.
He spun it that way, at the very least. And then we've already had a short description of Hajiri. Lich will speak up after you hand off assignments.
Will we be reporting this directly to you, or should I share it with the class? I know how you like to keep things in order.
No. Pass along any information you find to them. It's important everyone's aware.
Very well. I will begin.
And he sort
What
of
they do with it is their own choice.
looks away and gets that glassy-eyed appearance that he gets when he's clearly doing things in VR space, while being just there enough to not walk into a wall. Do you have any personal matters to attend to in this evening you have remaining before you lose 15 years of your life?
Very important. I'm going to send a very heartfelt apology email explaining that because of the nature of the mission ahead of me, I will not be able to attend the very important sessions that I had lined up in the future with my therapist, though I do sincerely hope that they are still here on the station and practicing when I return so that we can continue our very, very important work.
All right. So I take it you have no interest in seeing your therapist before you embark on this mission?
No.
Awesome. All right. The other four of you, what are you getting up to on a personal nature, and then we can do some legwork.
I'm just gonna shoot a message out to Storm, just letting him know that we finally got a mission, give him the rundown of it, and just let him know that it's gonna be probably 15 years before I'm like actively back and able to have an OmniNet connection.
All right.
I've got somebody I need to see.
Yes. Let's because I think either could be interesting. Roll me a d20 and just tell me if it's above 10. You're not really rolling a skill, so I'm not going to look for a skill trigger. Just
Gotcha. It is not. It's a 4.
okay. Unfortunately, I don't remember if we gave him a rank. But unfortunately, Morgan Troy is not on station. He's out on patrol. Not terribly far away. Probably local-ish space. Somewhere between here and the Blink Gate. So less than a light year away, but not on station, unfortunately. You could send an OmniNet call.
I'm going to send him an OmniNet call.
Okay. Yeah, it's more interesting if he actually picks up. So you get back to your apartment, set up the OmniNet call, and it takes a moment. It almost times out and goes to the, do you want to record a message screen before it clicks on, and all you see is the hand coming back from, clicking the on button before he throws himself down in his chair. It looks like he just scrambled to throw something on.
You didn't. You didn't
yeah.
have to get dressed. You didn't have to get dressed. Hey.
I didn't bother to look who it was. It's called me a night rotation.
Sorry. Kind of got some big news, so I needed to share pretty immediately.
Well, don't keep me in suspense then.
We have our first mission.
So it's that time.
Yeah.
I was hoping to be back for that.
Yeah, I was hoping for that too. But unfortunate.
No chance
gonna
it's a 2-month hop. I'll be back by then.
No.
How far are they sending you out?
Full trip, looking about 14, 15 years.
Gives that long whistle as he sort of leans back in his chair.
Yeah.
Huh? We knew this was coming.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. But, like, feel free to take another mission while I'm gone. Hopefully one...
I'll let my captain know that he has your approval.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Like, do I need to give you a written note, or...
Yeah, if you have your own seal now, Admiral Lancer, sir.
I mean, I could definitely make one. Whether or not it'll hold up, in the bureaucracy of it all.
Well, that would certainly be something. A Navy captain getting a notice from a Lancer pilot.
I mean, the shock might make it work, really, but...
Or get me busted down to crewman.
Yeah, no, I suppose not. Gonna be in touch as much as I can.
I assume they have you asleep for most of that ride?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll set my watch. But, I assume 7-year run somewhere halfway point. Tends to have a give or take of about a month, so I might miss you. Give me a call if you have the time, but what are they dropping you into?
Potential hostage situation. Hostile takeover at the least, so.
Right. Might not have the time.
No, but maybe I can take a pic.
Oh, you better.
All right. I'm not gonna hold you. You should probably get some sleep.
Well, I'm awake now.
Oh, I mean, maybe that's fair.
And yeah, I think we'll have the camera zoom and fade out as I think Morgan, getting more comfortable, just sort of peels off his military issue tank top, and you continue your conversation. However that may proceed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just
long distance relationship. Anyone else have anything?
August is just going to send off a couple of quick, basically the far future sci-fi version of an email or text, because he doesn't necessarily like talking on the phone, so to speak. I'm going to send one to his friend Jana, who's out on her on a completely different ship, God knows where, just saying, hey, got our first mission, gonna be sleeping for a long time. Hope you're having a great time out on your merchant vessel wherever you're at, and I'll catch you when I get back. And then another one to Calum today. Hey, basically the same thing. Leaving, going to be gone for a long time, putting my projects into storage, and feel free to access my stuff if you need it.
All right. Well,
That's the only really personal thing he's got to do. So
okay. Well, we'll see if either of them get back to you in the next 14 years.
other than that, he's going to try to drag Shiv to Clive's so
Excellent.
they can use the OmniNet stuff there and try to track down information.
All right. Before we get to that, Siobhan, do you have anything you would like to do? 14 years.
Not before, but Siobhan definitely tries to insert herself into like any other place where people are going to be doing things before they leave. Even as people kind of split off to do their personal business. But after all of this, when everyone goes to bed, Siobhan will go back to their room, sit in front of that computer with all of those unread messages. We'll sit. Fingers in their mouth. Just staring at it. And I don't think they do anything about it.
Okay. We'll have the camera fade
They
to black.
will.
Continue.
They do show up the next morning to report to their mech, and many of their fingers are bloody
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and bandaged.
All right. So, let's jump into, with that, I don't think I skipped anybody. Let's jump into what legwork you may be able to do at this point. I'll let you know, things will change in the next 7 years, so you'll get your full briefing when you arrive at the planet. But it sounded like you had some preliminary questions you wanted answered. Or other preparations.
So I wanted to see if we can find, first off, using the name of this guy, was it Riley? I forget the name of Commodore or something or other. He was calling himself Newton.
Right? Yeah,
Riley
Riley.
Newton?
Yeah, Commodore
Yeah,
Newton
yeah.
Riley.
Newton Riley.
Newton. But using his name basically as a starting point, I want to see what kind of information we can coax out of the OmniNet through, and I specifically went to Clive's because it's not necessarily a military computer. I want to look for stuff that's maybe a little further flung than maybe just what kind of military files there would be. And
Shiv's gonna do the same thing.
we know
but
Shiv
go deep and dark.
Yeah, because Shiv knows that stuff. I don't know all that stuff, so that's why I wanted us to go together. We're going to combine forces.
I feel like between August and Shiv, there's the quiet, again, another quiet understanding of you're a smart man. You probably know what's happening. We don't talk about it though. We're pretending the information I find is very legal. Very legal.
Exactly. And he doesn't care. Like, it doesn't
Perfect.
bother him. Like, he doesn't know that world. That's not his thing, But at the same time, he's like, okay, whatever. You do you. As long as you're not hurting anybody, I don't care.
Questionable.
That's
Depends
the
on
part
your
you leave
definition of
out.
hurt. Exactly.
That's the part you leave out.
Yeah.
Don't tell me about.
I don't have to tell you how I got to this rabbit hole, but we're in it now.
Right.
All right. May have lost you a little bit there. Can you refine down more specifically what you're looking for?
So, using his name as a starting point, I want to find what I can about this organization he's connected to, and specifically, what kind of resources they might have, or have been reported to have, and any like if they have been involved in conflicts in the past, what kind of what did they have? What did they field? What are they? Are they pulling scrap heaps out of the junkyard and cobbling them together and calling them weapons of war, or do they actually have, decent machines?
And
Start
then
with the socials,
anything.
and
Yeah.
then news
Start their
articles, and
Facebook.
websites. You gotta use
And then
LinkedIn. Don't forget
anything-
LinkedIn. Very important.
LinkedIn.
Anything he finds at like the normal people level of like internet research, Shiv's gonna go to the darker end of the websites and go looking for more that they can uncover too.
Okay. Do I want to make this 2 separate rolls, or do I want to make one of you support the other? I think we're going to make it 1 roll and have a...
Okay.
So let's have Solitaire... Yeah, so stat-wise, even though there's not really stats in narrative play, it would probably make more sense for Siobhan to do the actual web crawling.
Wiki.
I do have investigate as a skill trigger.
You do. Would you try to use that to investigate? Yeah, see, and it does say study something. It comes down to how you interpret the language of the skill.
Yeah, I mean, it says research a subject.
Yeah. Sure. Let's go two separate rolls then. We'll go 2 separate rolls.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think both of you have skill checks well.
Well, because I can, I guess, either use
Word on the
Hacker
street.
Fix or I have Word on the Street.
Yeah, I think Hacker Fix is specifically with hacking into something, though delving into sort of dark web stuff, I can definitely see the justification for. Yeah, let's go with that. Both of you can roll with your +2 skill trigger.
I
Exciting.
got a 12.
Actually, let me see here. I want to, because I can do fancy things with the difficulty of this. I can either make this. Make sure I'm on the right page here. Where are you at? I could either make it more difficult by adding difficulty to it, which would be a d6 that you subtract from your roll, or I could simply make this a risky or even heroic roll. I don't think it's a heroic roll. It's not that difficult. And I don't think there's necessarily a big risk involved. So I am going to say that these will have +1 difficulty. So you will roll your 1d10 or 1d20 +2, and then add another d6 and subtract that, and you need to beat a 10.
Gotcha.
Oh, I got lucky. I rolled a 1 on the d6, so it's an
Nice.
11.
Nice.
Oh, close call. Okay, so I got a 13 plus 2, so 15 minus 3 is
12.
12.
Okay. You both passed even with the added difficulty. All right.
It's fair.
So,
Way to go, team.
this is a known entity, but it's not necessarily a well-defined entity. The Drespal system is there's not much out there, really. Drespal 1 is probably the most lucrative area, and it is you guys are already on the far rim, so there's a lot of distance. Even with blink gates, there's a lot of distance between important places. which is usually some sort of deterrence. If somebody wants to hit somewhere particular, it's going to take them a long time to get there, a long time to get back with their hull, or they're stuck out there and have to operate or fortify it or whatever. This particular organization, Privateer Microcorp, as it is being portrayed, is it's kind of like the privateer companies of the pirate era. They're semi-legitimate, kind of organized groups. They filled out enough paperwork to be considered a microcorp, but they're kind of really just a space gang, and not a particularly big one at that. It does strike you, reading some of the articles that you can find about them, listening to some of the word of mouth that you hear about them. You do find it surprising that they hit a site like this. It would seem to be out of their normal line of work. And they're like, they do sort of protection racket kind of stuff. Maybe do some black market deals here or there, drugs when they can get them, weapons when they can get them. They're pretty much space pirates, and not a particularly large group of them either, at least as far as prestige. So, with that in mind, and you can only be so certain that your information is up to date, of course, with relativistic distances. The Omninet, being paracausal, is instantaneous transmission of information, but you still have to get information from one planet to another, especially word of mouth kind of stuff. Yeah, it has to disseminate. So things could have changed since some of these reports. There could have been external factors, certainly, and things certainly could change in the next 7 years. But it doesn't look like you're surprised knowing that a facility like Drespaul 1 certainly had their own standing defense force. It's surprising that they pulled this off. So either they are backed by someone, or they've suddenly got an influx in power, whether that be material, personnel, mech, weapons, information, whatnot. Or they just got real damn lucky. Or anything else you might be able to draw from that. But this kind of seems out of their league. And if what you are seeing is accurate and remains accurate, you guys should be able to get in and do this no problem. Like, they might have a handful of, like, a generation or two ago mechs, small arms, maybe a couple rocket launchers, and then whatever defensive fortifications they didn't destroy beyond repair from the facility. In your mind, if they are able to take, hold, and repair the facility, the stuff there is probably better than what they would have used to assault it, which is confusing, because then why did it work? And also, why did they do it, knowing that it probably wouldn't work?
Yeah, with all this, it doesn't. None of it adds up.
That sounds like inside work.
He'll shoot out a kind of a group message, kind of summarizing some of that, and the end just kind of like larger backer, inside job.
Siobhan, since you're scouring the dark web, essentially, the deep net, you this is stuff that you pick up on various message boards that don't necessarily communicate all that straightforwardly, but you piece together that the further out you get on the Orion arm, that there seems to be some sort of... You're hearing rumors that places are going dark, and that people are migrating inward, or that people are being pushed inward, or encouraged to move inward. And I think you do pick up evidence of heavily encrypted, but also heavily distorted Union communications, both Navy and administrative. But they're too well encrypted and too distorted for you to really put much data together.
Okay.
But now that you think of it, over the past year or two, you've spent mostly with this squad and your other Lancers. They do kind of rotate you around in various squads. But you also, you're part of the academy, so you do sometimes mingle with the general cadets, lower junior officer graduates and whatnot. Now that you think back, you do remember you're hearing a lot of people like, oh yeah, it's so and so and so said this and that colony. They haven't heard from them in a while, and might have checked back on it later, and no, still nothing. Guess sometimes colonies fail, especially new ones, or maybe something happened out in space. Who knows? Terrestrial event, pirates that nobody got the word out for. Fucking meteorite could have crashed into the planet. Sometimes colonies just go dark. But with this in mind,
suspicious. Okay.
I feel like before sending out his message to the others, August would have paused, considering whether to include Tabak in that message with the others, and then after a minute, he would have included Tabak as well, just to give him a heads up, because he's going to be there too, and he doesn't want him going in without whatever information might be relevant.
Yeah, I think while you are mulling this over, you do get a CC from Malcolm Kazir with some preliminary specifications for their last known, grades of equipment. And you are seeing mechs like generations down the line. And weapons technology that is 20 years out of date. A complement of maybe 3 ships. 2 of them are just, basic transport. One of them is probably not even like a cruiser, but like a large frigate.
The math ain't mathin'.
No, it's not.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Anything else?
Something that I would like to do, especially just hearing that the system itself is like pretty hot, and sometimes there's sensitive equipment inside of our mechs. I was actually wondering if it might be possible for me to try going to Henry Dunn to see if maybe we could get some authorized additional coolant, some kind of heat protection maybe for our mechs, just because that's a concern of mine.
Okay. I will say you have a little bit more time to peruse the data on the tablet, and with that in mind, you do get a slightly more thorough description of the planet. Dresbel 1 is a mostly rocky planet with a thin atmosphere and surface temperatures just within human safety limits. So it's not mechanically dangerous to your mech, but outside of your mech, I mean, it's probably, upwards of 150 degrees.
Okay.
Give or take. You can survive, but not for long.
Got it. Okay.
So if you do foresee any sort of extravehicular activity, you might want, to bolster your own personal coolant or provide some other such resource with
Yeah.
that in mind.
Okay, so
you do
if-
also
with-
learn that Drespel 1 is surrounded by a thin ring of water ice and boasts a single large moon. They also had a number of satellites in orbit, both communication and very basic defense. And by basic, I mean modern, but not necessarily like top-of-the-line Navy grade. And there is one other planetoid on the far edge of the Drespel system. Otherwise, Drespel is an the star itself, Drespel, is an unremarkable red dwarf. Yeah, and this is Drespel 1. The only reason this planet is even habitable is because it is so close to this red dwarf.
Got it. In that case, then, I would like to, if I could change my request, possibly. When it comes to us getting there, is the ship going to be armed or not?
Your transport ship is they're not sending like a Navy cruiser or anything. You are basically arriving in a transport frigate. It will have its own defenses, but it is designed to basically drop you off in far orbit and remain outside of combat. It is
okay.
We
So
are
I'm
the
assuming,
defenses.
yeah.
so I'm assuming then in that case, then I wouldn't be able to like possibly try to call in like a favor for maybe like a coordinated strike or anything like that.
No, because that would be direct Navy involvement, and there's a reason they send Lancers.
Fair
Generally,
enough.
if they're
Okay.
sending you, they're not committing actual Navy assets.
Okay, then in that case, I'll stick with my original plan, and I'll just see if there are ways for us to like boost our, like for our personal armor to reinforce the coolant in it.
All right. I do think there might be gear that actually does something like this. I know somebody in chat said I gotta equip those cool shots. I do wonder if those are an actual thing.
Oh, I mean, that's a mech warrior thing, but
I mean, if all else fails, if it's a flavor thing, that's what I'd be okay with too.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are things. I mean, you look at like self undersuits, and I mean, even my assault armor has environmental controls.
Yeah.
Things like that. So
Yeah, you'll be able to choose your gear loadout mission by mission, so you can swap those out as you would like, and there's quite a lot of it, especially if we're including some of the splat books. But do you have a specific functionality that you might want to like request a reserve item for?
Yeah, the original idea just that I had was just that if it could be something to either like a temporary way to like increase like our power limits or something like that, just in case like we do have to get out of our mechs. That way, like we can be covered just in case.
Okay, I think generally that will come down to your suit that you're wearing. Okay. I don't think that really requires a reserve. I think if you are wearing a suit, and you probably should wear a suit, they have built-in regulation systems that go well above 150 degrees.
Okay.
Nice.
Anything else? Sounds like we're good. So with that, I think we will see our Lancer pilots once again. This time, the next morning, the lot of you, not just you 5 or you 2 squads of 4, but the rest of your year of new Lancer auxiliary corpsmen, marching down towards the hangar. And we see those hangar doors open up again, these big, massive, and really, since some mechs can get really damn big, like 5-story tall doors. A size 4 mech is huge, and it still needs to be able to come and go. So you're looking at one of those like real huge airplane hangars that have like the big goose or something. I forget exactly what they're like, Zeppelin hangars They're massive hangar
Yes.
doors, and inside you see various stations where some of the mechs are little more than armatures that you get into yourself, extra modified hard suits. I don't think you see currently. I don't think Blue Wall is a size 4 yet. I think he's only a size 2 or 3. But you see a number of mechs. Right now, the ones that you guys are moving towards are all fairly similar. They are all variants of the standard Everest, or at least a variant of the Everest. Some of them have some extra decals and painting. Their equipment will vary. And we see a number of engineering teams moving up and down a number of automated armatures and whatnot, making final checks and modifications to each of these systems. And we see you march in and begin dispersing to each one of these mechs. And I will say, instead of taking the time to describe these mechs, because they are all basic variants of the Everest, I think we'll pick up next week with a description of any personalizations that you might have. But we'll save an actual description and the actual representation of your character mechs that you put together for when you actually unlock those specific frames. Until then, they're just sort of teasers for what's to come. So we see the 5 of you amongst everyone else split off, get onto the lift that leads up to your cockpit, push on your helmet, sit yourself into the chassis of these mechs. It folds down, and as it folds down, we cut. Episode 1, the Starcrier Conflict. Ending with our first conflict.
Yeah.
We started with a conflict. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe.
we really did.
Holding true to the name. It's very important. We want to be
Truly.
thematic.
All right. Well, I hope you all enjoyed the episode. I say that both to my cast here and to all of you wonderful people in the audience that have stuck around for this first episode. A lot of great character stuff, I think. We really got to see what these characters were all about, or at least the tip of the iceberg, some real nice relationships that they have established. And we'll see what those relationships look like 15 years from now when they return. But before then, next week, we have this first Lancer operation for them to work with, and well, we'll have to see what it looks like 7 years from now next week. With that, let's sign off, and I would, yeah, let's start with throwing it back to all of you guys. Do you remember your order?
I was first.
No.
Yes, go ahead, Sean.
It was, I think it was me, then Haley,
Haley, then
Thank
Q,
you.
then
Then
you.
me.
Andrew, and then me.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So now that
Yeah,
we're past all the narrative, please take the time, properly introduce yourself, tell everyone what you have going on and where to find you.
Alrighty. Again, I'm Johnson. I've been playing August Walker Solitaire. I have been playing TTRPGs since like 1990 something. I'm kind of old. Just in case you all are wondering. Most of the time I stream all over on Lost Caravan, though I do some other stuff with Singularity, Nerds with Dice, various other platforms and stuff like that. The next thing I got going on actually is tomorrow night over on Lost Caravan. We're doing a one-shot of Fabula Ultima, which is going to be super fun. It's my first time playing that system, and I'm really looking forward to it. It seems like such a cool thing. Other than that, what do we got going on? I don't know if I have anything scheduled yet for next month, because, I don't know, apparently we're just behind on doing stuff for next month. But you can also check out on Lost Caravan's YouTube page. You can find the episodes for my Old Gods of Appalachia playthrough that we've recorded all but the very end of it, called Dark Baptism. That's a lot of fun. I'm GMing that one with a wonderful cast of characters. So definitely check that out if you're interested in that spooky horror backwoodsy stuff. I love it. Other than that, you can find me on Blue Sky at Rise, Rize. If you're interested, you can also find me on Instagram with my photography stuff. It's Raven Black Photography. Lots of cosplay photography, nature photography, that kind of stuff. So if you're interested, check that out. And I'll see you guys back here next time.
Excellent. All right. Haley, what do you do? Where can we find you?
Hi. Well, hey, howdy, hi. Once again, I am Haley. You can find me personally at Haley Ann. It's spelled real funny, so go ahead and take a look at that. But my main home and stage is Another Bad Side Quest. We are a TTRPG group that looks to play all kinds of games. We are just about to start our second ever main campaign. It's very exciting, A Song in Grey. You can see me playing Winnie, a bubblegum pink tiefling wizard with a southern accent that I'm not very good at. But that will be coming out here very soon. We're very excited. We'll be putting out some 0.5 episodes of character introductions, so keep an eye out for that. I'm very excited about them. They went really well when we were recording them. But yeah, so we will be getting back into gear, so keep an eye on our Twitter for all of that fun stuff.
Awesome. Next up, Q, what do you have going on?
It's me. I have things and also stuff. Hi, I'm Q. You can find me pretty much everywhere on the internet at Midnight Inc. There's Midnight_INQ. Q is my name. I'm sure you get it. Let's see. I have to go by days. It's coming up Tuesday. I will be over live from Apocalypse. Hey, you put that finger down, you motherfucker.
You had to know it was coming.
Oh God. Okay. So, I'll be on Live from the Apocalypse, where I'm guest starring in their D&D isekai called Class Reunion. Thursday is recording thing, so that doesn't count because it's not live stream. It's fine. On Friday, you can also check Live from the Apocalypse, where I'm gonna be. Well, I've already recorded it, so it's already happened. But it is a mini for our Regency era Monster Hearts game, A Season of Secrets and Shadows, where we get to find out what happened to my infernal turned angel turned what now? You don't know, Dorian Black. And then alternating Tuesdays from Clash Reunion, I will be on Entropy Emporium. We're playing a horror masks game called They Call Us Villains. And then the other Thursday is Redacted, also on Live from the Apocalypse. I'm also part of the team for Tales from the Table Studios, which I will be in things on that channel again. That's happening, so just be aware. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else.
Nothing else?
Sure.
Come on, if you put in one more, he has to put up the other hand.
Well,
you're here. This counts.
You're doing something next Sunday, right?
There you go. That's 6.
This
Six
counts.
Be here.
So
I just think it's so funny how this is actually such a small world, because some of my good friends are the guys who run Entropy Emporium, JG and stuff like that. I love those guys.
Yes, love them.
Yeah.
We all sort of revolve
from
around
the
each other
public.
in this space.
Absolutely.
And I love
Yeah,
it.
no, we totally do.
Well, with
okay.
all of those amazing projects, thank you, Q, for being on this one as well.
So many things. So many things.
Here's a gift.
Yes. Oh, yes. Andrew, Ajax.
Okay. Hi, I'm Andrew. I've been playing Intermission, and I will say, what I'm learning is I don't do enough compared to everybody else. So I run a YouTube channel that is That Gamer Ajax, where I cover basically all things tabletop, and my idea is to try to help people be the best enthusiasts that they can be. That includes tips and tricks videos, guides for learning new RPGs that I find that I really enjoy. Yeah, it's a good time. Try to be helpful and educational, a little bit of fun too. Other than that, I'm That Gamer Ajax on all the socials. I'm mostly on Threads right now, just because nothing else has really been able to stick so far. But yeah,
Oops.
yeah, I'd say upcoming video is I'm going to be filming soon is like 5 RPGs that I'm dying to play this year. So I'll be talking about a bunch of different systems and why I really want to play them and why I haven't gotten a chance to yet.
Nice. Excellent. Yes, always very nice videos over on That Gamer Ajax YouTube. There's all kinds of awesome stuff. And rounding us out, guest starring Lion as everyone's favorite prodigal prince. What do you got going on?
Hey, y'all. I'm Lion. I am the creative director and founder for Tales from the Table Studios, where we're doing a whole bunch of stuff. I'll talk about that more in a minute. Very appreciative of being able to be here to portray everyone's absolute favorite princely boy, of course, and make all the friends in the world. You'll be able to see me next, just for a couple of minutes on Tuesday night at 9 p.m. EST, as we bring you a Thirsty Sword Lesbians game over on Tales from the Table Studios, as we continue our month of Tales, raising money for Gaza with Project Hope. If we can hit $3,000, then we'll be able to get a doctor on the ground in Gaza. And if we can at least hit $1,000 before the end of the month, I will get the Tales from the Table Studios logo shaved into the side of my head. So, incentive. Let's go. So we're trying. We're going to see if we can get there. Come by, hang out, donate. We've got a bunch of really cool prizes we're giving away. A bunch of different modules and games from different creators. Art from multiple artists. A home like hand knit dice bag for your dice. A hand painted beholder mini, which is just absolutely gorgeous. We've got a bunch of a pair of black tiefling horns that are also just amazing from the Shady Sale. So many phenomenal things. Come by, hang out. Any amount of donation gets you entered in to win all this stuff, and any amount also goes towards helping people who really need it right now, especially now because it's getting worse every day, and soon there just won't be a way to get anything else done, and we need to fight back against that. Besides that, you'll be able to see me here being a wonderful, insufferable son of a company. And we will have more things. I'll have more things to talk about in the coming weeks because we are hard at work behind the scenes on some really exciting stuff to get us going once we wrap the month of Tales. But for now, month of Tales, come by, hang out. We've still got a couple games, and I'm working on getting more because I sleep too much. It's fine. I don't need any of that stuff.
Sleep is
That's
really
it. That's me.
You always keep yourself very busy.
I do my best. You can find me at the Lion Knight 42 on Twitter. You can find me at TFTT Studios on Twitter as well. Also on TikTok. Tales from the Table Studios over on YouTube, Twitch, Threads. I think we're also Tales from the Table Studios. And I think I've covered everything. And I think that's all our stuff.
Gotta love all those different social media.
Yeah, all the things, and I have to go through them all because some of them we can't fit our whole name, some of them we can fit our whole name. It's fine. Just look up Tales from the Table Studios, and you will find us everywhere.
Yeah. Awesome. Excellent. It's hard to shill after somebody just promoted a charity. If you have disposable income, go put it there. It's more important than what I'm doing. But if you have even more disposable income and you like this show, I would certainly appreciate it if you took a look over at our Ko-Fi. We have a Ko-Fi. That is where I am trying to amass whatever I can to get an art budget. I think these guys are amazing. They created amazing characters. We got some mech art from Retrograde Minis, which does great both fantasy and mech minis for free. It's like an alternative for Hero Forged on a like a pixel art scale. With, of course, you can go and support those guys. I think it's on Patreon. I'm not sure. But I would
yes,
love to see.
They do have a Patreon.
Yeah. I would love to see some personal art for these characters, their touchstone NPCs, and their mechs. I'd love to get more scenery like the stuff I have been able to find thus far. So if you would like to support the show, I would love to bring in more artists, more musicians, an editor to help me. So anything you send to us will go straight back into the budget to make RPGs Uncovered content even better. And if you want to support the cast specifically, go head down to that Mayhem meter. Not only will it ratchet things up a notch, and definitely check that out for next week's actual mission for mech combat, but anything we get through the Mayhem meter gets distributed right back to all of these fine folks. So that's the best way I can think of to making sure their dedication and support and creativity and talent is rewarded best I can. So either way, I'd love to have your support, but also go check out various charities that I know not only Lion, but a number of my friends in the community are running right now. I would also like to give a shout out to our sponsor at Veil of the Void. This is a slightly sponsored show. We got a little bit of a budget from Veil of the Void. Not to play down that. Eventually, I will have the budget for art, but I gotta wait for that to trickle in without other support. But Veil of the Void is an excellent sci-fantasy TTRPG. Yes, I have a little blurb here that I wrote, and I'm particularly proud of it, even if it's a little shilly. The Starcrier Conflict is brought to you in part by Veil of the Void. Pierce the veil and adventure through the void as a vampiric alien, a sentient plant, or even a bottled aspect of the cosmos. These and countless other characters can face off against massive cosmic space worms, demons from the Broken Realms, or even travel through the roots of the newly rediscovered world tree Yggdrasil. Find your next favorite adventure in Veil of the Void Reforged. Visit sdgcreatives.com to learn more and pick up your own copy of Veil of the Void Reforged. And you can use our special discount code RPGs, that's capital RPG, for 10% off your order at their store. They have PDFs, they have hardcover books, shipped anywhere. They're beautiful, fantastic art. You want to rub the paper on your face because it's so soft? It's wonderful. These are personal friends. I can endorse their product. They've been on RPGs Uncovered before. And I can, they're great people, and I can stand behind their game, which is the only products I will ever have supporting RPGs Uncovered. I'm not interested in mobile clickbait games. I'm not interested in energy drinks or chairs or keyboards or whatnot. If you are a creator of something nerdy and cool, if you do t-shirts or dice bags or tea assortments, whatever it may be, if you want to shout out and you have literally any sort of budget you could throw my way, I want to work with you to provide a space to help, shout you guys out and get you guys some advertising, whatever we can work out on this channel, because I want to work with other creatives and support the TTRPG community. That's what's most important to me. With that, I think that's all my shilling. I think that's all my checklist. So, thank you all for sticking around for our extended outro. I love giving everybody the time to shout out what they have going on. And stick around for next week, because this is only gonna get more crazy. So as always, thank you for watching. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, keep having fun, and keep checking back here for more of the Starcrier Conflict. Every Sunday, 7 p.m. ET. But before you go, I put together a closing credits video as well. Enjoy, and we'll see you back in the black next week.
Bye-bye.